All right, boys, we have some announcements to start off this show with. Obviously, last week, if you guys missed out, we just launched a brand new Discord server to celebrate 5,000 subscribers on the channel. We want to thank you so much. And in fact, we have another milestone to share. We just hit 5 million views across our entire YouTube channel.
Wow.
Yeah.
So halfway to 10 mil is crazy.
Yep.
Can't thank you all enough. That number's just insanely sane.
Yeah.
And
5 big ones.
5 big
Yeah.
ones,
Let's
bro.
go.
5 M's.
We hit 5,400 on YouTube as well.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. So we're almost halfway to 6K.
The goal we're going to set, get us to 6,000 subscribers by the conclusion of the NBA Finals, which is like June 20-something.
What are we at right now?
Yeah.
54-13, something of that
we
nature.
we had a really good month last month. And
Month last
this
year.
first week of May, the shorts are almost at 100K views in a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every 5, 6, 7 ones. Yeah.
You guys have been killing it, man. We feel the love. We feel the
Yeah.
love. And go join the Discord server. It's not only going to be in the description, it's going to be in the pinned comment below. It's also the pinned comment on most of our shorts as of late. And the other announcement, as well, to celebrate all of this happening, we're going to be doing our first ever live stream on Monday night, May 12th, watching and reacting to the NBA Draft Lottery,
Exactly.
where I find out the fate of my Brooklyn Nets franchise
Wow.
for the decade and for pretty much the long-term future, because this one draft lottery decides a lot. There's a lot on the line for it. We'll talk about it a little bit later, maybe.
Yeah, so Tyler's season starts next Monday. The Knicks season could end next Monday.
Yeah, why are you so pessimistic, bro?
I'm just saying, but I don't know how it works. It may not be over.
No, it won't.
Yeah, it won't.
Because they're
Probably
playing
the week after.
They're playing game 1 tonight at the time of recording.
Yeah, game
then
2
there's
will
a
be
day off.
Wednesday.
Game 2 Wednesday, travel day. Game 3 will be Saturday. Game 4 will be on
Monday.
On Monday.
They sweep them.
So they could be, yeah.
They could be.
By the time
Knicks
we're done
win
recording.
game 1. Mark my words.
That's tonight, Gio.
Yeah, Knicks win tonight.
And then
Yeah.
lose the next 4.
We'll see.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Because that's
Yeah.
how a lot of those like heavily favored
Yeah.
series goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, depending on when Gio gets off work, if anything, me and Antoine will start off the live
Yeah.
stream. We'll be live
Oh.
around 6:30, I think is our goal.
Yeah.
Because the lottery starts at 7, and you know we'll stick around a little bit afterwards and kind of talk through everything like that. We'll go through different scenarios.
We're gonna turn the second monitor around so we could watch it, or we could just use our phones for our side.
We could figure something out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll figure out a way
'Cause
for it.
we want Tyler to be able to see it on his monitor, because if we turn the monitor to us, he won't be able to see it.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Unless
So-
he uses his iPad or his laptop.
I could just use
in front
my
of him. He
laptop,
can use his
yeah.
laptop in front of him. Exactly.
Yeah, I'll just put it on here.
perfect.
He can use his laptop, and we could turn the monitor towards
Yeah.
us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to it. You can catch us on most of the platforms. I think we're going to be streaming on YouTube and mainly my Twitter. So links will be in the description for that. Go follow us. And as for today, as you could tell by the title and thumbnail, it's episode 56. We're going to be going through all 8 of the playoff losers that went out in the first round. And we're going to reveal one thing that they need to fix this offseason or at some point next season. Basically, what can you do to improve in 2026? That's really the main goal here. And if you guys do enjoy today's video, be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell. If you're on Spotify audio platforms, give us 5 stars, answer the polls, leave a review, all that good stuff. Socials down in the description. Get Gio to 1 million Instagram followers. And boys, do we have anything else to say before we dive right in?
No, I will say, it depends whenever my package comes in, but I am getting new frames. I have new frames. They're a completely different look than the ones I have now.
Are they glare-free?
They are.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I went to Warby Parker. I got new frames. They're coming in a week and a half, and they're a completely different look from what I wear right now.
Do they turn into sunglasses in the sun?
No, I did
Okay,
not get
good.
transition.
No
Thank you.
transitions
Thank
this
you.
time.
The only thing I'll say is that they are clear frames like Geo's.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
He's
definitely
hopping
going to
on
be
my
an
wave.
interesting look. I've still gone for the tortoise design. They're back
Yeah.
they're back in style. So
I
Yeah.
like it, bro.
we take that.
I
So
like
yeah,
it.
in a few weeks you'll see. Obviously you'll see the difference because the frames will be from dark to completely clear.
Yeah, it's going to blend
So-
right in.
Yeah.
So on that note, let's dive right in. As always, before we dive into the main segment of the show, we have our first 45 minutes to an hour of news, any sort of things that have happened throughout the past week in the NBA. We'll obviously cover the playoffs in a little bit, but we have some news that dropped over the past few days that somewhat shocked the NBA world, but I think we all kind of saw this coming. So Antoine's got the deets on this. What do we got, bro?
Yeah, so we're saying goodbye to a legend of the game. So Pop is decided to step down, but not completely. It's a step down and then a level up, similar to what we saw from Brad Stevens a few years ago. So Pop stepped down as head coach effective immediately and will become the team's president or president of basketball ops as of next year.
Wouldn't that be a promotion?
Yes.
Yeah, it would.
So he didn't really step down.
He stepped down as the coach, but then they
Okay.
elevated him
Yeah.
to
Okay.
president of basketball operations.
Yeah. So Mitch Johnson, who coached every game, which was 77 this past season. Pop only coached 5. He's now the new serving head coach for the future. Pop is 76 years old.
Wow.
He had a stroke on a team's arena on November 2nd, which was 4 or 5 months ago. Of course, Pop led the Spurs to 5 NBA championships. He's the league's all-time wins leader and is inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame. We all know that. Are you ready for these stats? Well, it's
Sure.
two stats. So he has 1,422 wins, 869 losses. That's his final tally. He has 170 playoff game wins, and it's the most by any coach with any team, and third most behind Phil Jackson's 229 and Pat Riley's 171. So he was just 2 shy from breaking Pat Riley's record and being behind Phil Jackson. But yeah, that's it. Pop. I know there was a press conference today.
There was.
With Tim Duncan and Manu helping Pop up to the podium, and they called him El Jefe. It's on the back of his shirt, his jacket.
His tattoo.
That's his.
I'm just kidding.
No,
I don't
Yeah.
know.
No, he had like a jacket on.
Yeah, he had a
took it
jacket.
off. He's like, I'm no longer coach. El Jefe.
But Pop at 76, he's
old.
getting up there, but he's going to be team president now. So
He's the boss, man. And, one of the greatest coaches, if not the greatest coach to ever grace the NBA. Done so much, elevated so many guys' careers, and one of the most likable figures, I would say, in NBA history.
yeah, I guess Pop was the only one that of course we remember all the Pop interviews when people would ask him questions and he would only give one answer questions and then just leave.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you remember when Craig Sager was still around and he interviewed Pop. Pop would always stick around for him and actually would talk like 3 or 4 minutes to Craig Sager when he was on TNT about like how the team was doing.
Yeah.
Because they had a close relationship. But Pop's just a character.
He really is.
He says that's literally what it comes down to.
Yeah, he's a good man. And, it's going to really stink not seeing him on the sidelines anymore at games. Obviously, he'll still be around the Spurs organization, everything like that. But, it's good to see him Pop kind of run his schemes and, talk in the press conferences afterwards, whether it's a lot of words or a little. And, this is just the new era, the next chapter in San Antonio. You're moving on from the Popovich era. And, I'm surprised they went with Mitch Johnson considering some of the other candidates that were out there.
Yes, because once I saw that, I was like, oh, that's a big jump to take. And then the day right away, Mitch Johnson, I'm like, all right, I guess they already had everything set in place.
Yeah, I guess there's no need to, because if Pop's staying around in the organization, he trusts Mitch Johnson as his assistant. Why not give him the chance rather than going with a head coach like Michael Malone or Taylor Jenkins that were just fired for not essentially doing their job?
Yeah, I mean, don't forget, Mitch did a pretty decent job until Wemby got injured.
Yeah, the Spurs
So-
were like hovering around a play-in spot. They didn't really get in, but they were always kind of knocking at the door, really giving teams like Dallas and Phoenix little bits of problems here and there.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see next year what happens with this roster, the way this team's going to function, whether Chris Paul's there or not. Because obviously Wemby will be back. Stephon Castle's going into year 2. They're going to have 2 lottery picks this year. Wow. So anything can really happen with this roster. What are you thinking about this, Gio?
I mean, I'm thinking about Pop right now. I'm thinking like I'm going into history. I'm thinking like, what is it about Pop that made him so good? Is it just his scheming as a coach, or is it the culture that he brought to the Spurs organization, or is it just luck of the draw? He got Tim Duncan and David Robinson and Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili, all these legends. Like, what is it about him that makes him great?
I think it's both, essentially, because the lottery, luck, whether it was by chance or if David Stern or Adam Silver rigged it. Like, I'm not going to make that accusation, but it helps when you have those guys, especially when you get Wemby coming in. But I think what makes Pop special is that not only the culture that was built in San Antonio, but I think the tree of coaches and general managers that have kind of spewed from R.C. Buford and Pop, and obviously. So, there were so many different coaches, like Ime Udoka, for example, is one of the best coaches in the league. He came from the Pop system. And, that trickles down to other guys. Like Ime Udoka had Will Hardy on his staff in Boston. And Will Hardy just signed an extension with Utah. And he's one of the most underrated coaches in the league. And that all stems from the top. It stems from Popovich. And to me, that's super important that not only were you great in your own regard, but you were sort of a pioneer to the game for not only players, but for coaches and for front office staff.
Legendary. He's a grandfather
Yeah.
of coaches.
He really is.
That's how you know. Because then you have you go from Pop to Ime Udoka. I'm not saying he passed the torch to Ime. It could have been a bunch of other coaches in the coaching tree of Pop, right?
Yes.
But then you get Ime, and then you get Will Hardy. That's a third generation or a second generation. That's a grandfather right there of coaching, literally and figuratively.
Figuratively, yeah, it's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
And we obviously all wish Pop the absolute best in the next chapter. I'm really excited to see Pop as a GM now, seeing what he's going to be able to do. His negotiating skills. What are they going to be like? What trades is he going to make?
Right. I want to see how active he still is into it because obviously he's getting older.
Right.
So I want to see if he's still locked in 100% into doing his job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I'm sure
I expect him to be because he's Gregg Popovich, but age is undefeated so far.
Exactly.
So we'll see though.
According to himself, he's as of right now he's in good health. We'll knock on wood. Yeah.
Good.
So obviously he had a couple medical emergencies after the stroke. I think he got rushed to the hospital a few weeks ago or a month ago, something of that nature. Yeah. So, definitely scary times. Thankfully, he managed to pull through. And
now, what do you think about? I'm sorry. What do you think about the team now with the new coach in there? What's his name again?
Mitch Johnson, right?
Mitch Johnson.
Mitch Johnson.
Do you think he's a good successor of Gregg Popovich? Do you think he will be able to carry, the culture forward of the Spurs organization?
How do you answer that?
I mean, to be honest, I didn't even know who was coaching the Spurs once Pop left because, we were paying attention, but we were more concerned about Pop at that current moment in time and Wemby.
Yeah.
But he did great. Once they got Fox, of course, it was a short time with him and Wemby together. They probably would have gotten that 10th play-in spot, if I'm being honest with you guys. They probably would have been really close to it, or if not, just missed out or gotten it. But next year we'll see who they bring in. I don't know who the free agents are they could bring back or let go. Of course, who the lottery picks they get,
right?
And who Pop chooses for those 2 picks as well. And then just move on from there. And it seems that Mitch Johnson could be a younger coach for the younger guys, Wemby Castle. 2 guys coming in, and then just move forward from there.
The future's bright.
It is.
Oh, absolutely.
For the Spurs. So
yeah, they're going to be one of the massive dynasty contenders in the 2030s. Even at the end of this decade, they can make some noise once. Wemby's still a good 5 years away from his prime. Yeah. So we'll have to see what they do. So
he's also 10 inches taller than Tim Duncan. Did you see that?
Yeah.
It looked, the height comparison.
It's crazy.
Insane.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
He towers over. He's really 7'5". I don't know why they measure him at 7'3", but
crazy.
It makes honestly no sense. It's quite insane. But congratulations to Popovich on a wonderful coaching career. Wish him the absolute best going forward.
Yeah.
So now let's get into the next story upon the coaches. Antoine, what do we got for it?
Well, we're going to touch on the Grizzlies later in our playoff team segment, but earlier last week, I think it was either Tuesday or Wednesday, the Kings elevated interim head coach Doug Christie to now full-time acting head coach, and they're sticking with him. I guess they saw a good Kings team once he came in. I don't know what kind of eyes they have, but clearly they saw something. But Monty McNair stepped down, so I wonder who made that move to keep him around.
Well, remember they have Scott Perry as the
Scott
GM.
Perry, yes. I keep forgetting about that. But Kings are just, I guess, a never-ending just loop of
mid,
exactly. Because they didn't even have a coaching search. They just stuck with. I guess they have the trust in this guy.
I mean, I'll tell you,
or they have a good friendship.
Yeah, I'll tell you what it is. It's here because the Nets did this with Jacques Vaughn, right? Mm-hmm. You have a team that has championship aspirations, but let's be honest, they're nowhere near. Mm-hmm. You fall flat in your face. This team is just so mid. You're the epitome of mid. You barely have draft capital, so you just make the lateral pivot that doesn't really move the needle at all. So, I'm not really surprised by this. I doubt Doug Christie has his job past Valentine's Day next year.
Wow.
So we'll just,
Yeah.
It just is what it is. The Kings are gonna king. I thought they finally were able to kind of pick themselves back up. You had a promising backcourt combo of Fox and Haliburton, and you trade Haliburton for Sabonis. It worked for 1 year, and then
I was looking forward to the coaching search because, like, I like the names that, like, come in for interviews. We're like, ooh, that's someone that could be good. Ooh, like, I know the Pelicans already have names for their head coaches. Not Pelican. Was it Pelicans?
No, they still have Willie Green.
No, who was I saying? Who was it? I forgot. It'll come back to me.
Probably Phoenix.
I don't know. But something with James Borrego and someone else. But, yeah, like, just hiring the interim guy, like, we'll get into Memphis later, like,
Right.
yeah.
it's just kind of like you're half-assing it a little bit.
And that's what the Kings do. That's their bread and butter is being embarrassing. And, it's just unfortunate. The Kings didn't, they got the 3rd seed. They overachieved. They lose to the Warriors in 7 games. They didn't do anything. They literally did nothing that offseason. The roster staled out. The rest of the West got way better because that was the last year the East was good, was 2023. Because I'm pretty sure Philly...
The East is good this year.
Well, it's good this year, but in 2023, Philly, Boston, and was Milwaukee the 1 seed that year? They all had better records than the entire Western Conference.
Yeah.
So
I will say, like, I'll leave San Antonio out of this because I feel like Mitch Johnson is that guy. But, like, with Sacramento and Memphis, like, Michael Malone, Mike Brown, you're telling me these guys are better than those two guys? Well, the Kings can be like Mike Brown, but
yeah.
Michael Malone for Sacramento or Malone or Brown for
Michael
Memphis.
Michael Malone already coached and got fired by Sacramento, so he wasn't going to go back.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there's so many good assistant coaches that are out there, like Sam Cassell, for example.
Yeah.
Like how does he still not have
We
a
always
job?
talk about him.
Obviously David Adelman's another name that Denver's probably going to wind up elevating by the end of the season. But there's a lot of good options throughout. Like even Royal Ivy on Houston staff with Ime Udoka. There's good options for assistant coaches to get full-time jobs. It's just no one's doing it right now because they trust their assistant coach, and they feel like that's what'll solve the issue.
Yeah, the lead assistant on the previously fired head coach. That's pretty much what it's.
And that's the other thing, and that's the other problem too, is that Sacramento had a great assistant coach. Rather than extending Mike Brown, you let him walk to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Jordy should have been the guy there.
He should have been. We should not have Jordy Fernandez right now.
But
God
you're happy.
bless that we do. God bless
Jordy,
brother man.
Jordy is, I think, the guy for Brooklyn, and
He's a good coach.
He's the
Yeah.
He's the Spanish Spo.
yeah,
I'm telling you, he's going to be good going
Yeah.
forward.
yeah, I have no doubts with Jordy at all.
Yeah. You guys did at the start of the season, though.
We did. I think because we knew they were going to be bad. But
You have to. Yeah.
once
Yeah.
we saw how the Nets were playing and everybody that was kind of just there on this team were playing, good basketball.
Yeah.
So now it goes back to the coach instilling because he knows those guys are looking to get bigger contracts, probably somewhere else,
Or even just get
or
a spot in
get
the league.
spot in the league exactly. And
So-
they just they thrive with him.
And that's what it is. So, we don't expect much from the Sacramento Kings. We're not talking about them later on because they didn't make it to the playoffs. So, unlucky lads. But shout out the Kings. They do follow me on Twitter. So,
Okay. Wow.
so yeah, respect. But
Okay.
unfortunately, respectfully mid.
Okay.
So, do we have any final thoughts regarding any of the coaching stuff before we get into the next segment? All right, boys, it's time to get into some drama. As Flight likes to say, some negativity that happened during the NBA playoffs. So obviously, we're not going to cover the rest of the Pacers-Bucks series because it was over pretty much after we talked about it last week. But the Pacers wound up winning in 5 games. And, it was a very tight, intense game. Milwaukee led for pretty much most of it. Pacers came back, tied the game. Then Milwaukee took a humongous lead in overtime, had a 7-point lead with 40 seconds left. And Gary Trent Jr. absolutely became an expert marketing salesman and sold the game completely. Tyrese Haliburton hit a game winner over Giannis, and that was all she wrote.
It was another Gary Trent 30-point game, but
sold.
it didn't matter until those 2 turnovers happened late in the game.
Yeah, I honestly feel
How
bad
did he
for Bro.
turn that over, bro?
Well, he first jumped up
Threw it away.
and threw it away right to Nemhard.
Yep.
Oh,
And then the pass
gosh.
from AJ Green, he just went
Right
through his hands.
legs. Yeah.
Oh, you know who did the same thing?
Who?
Malik Beasley.
Well, no, it didn't go through his legs.
Went through his hands.
Yeah,
Okay.
it went through his hands. But yeah, I honestly feel bad for Gary Trent. My heart goes out to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what happened afterwards? After Gary Trent missed the 3-quarter court shot to try and win the game, all of a sudden we see John Haliburton, the father of Tyrese, just run out onto the court and just put the towel right in Giannis's face,
With
we
hands.
do this, all that stuff, and
Said,
Giannis.
that's what we do.
That's what we do. Yeah, and Giannis got pressed about it and basically didn't charge him, but resisted all urges to swing or anything like
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
And there was like a bunch of disagreements and people were bickering and benches cleared, everything started like that. Then a little, it all kind of died down a little bit. Then Giannis went over, talked one-on-one with Haliburton's dad. They were literally forehead to forehead. So, credit to Hallie's dad. He stood on business. He did not move. He did not flinch.
Wait, what? How
Yeah.
are we crediting Haliburton's
Yeah,
dad
I'm not
right
crediting
now?
Halliburton. I'm not.
What's happening right
I'm not crediting his dad. I'm just saying for not being scared of Giannis, just standing there and just taking it.
Bro's on crack.
Well, obviously, I think he's in the wrong for what he did.
He is.
But I
Okay.
think it takes guts if you're like a 5'10" man staring at 6'11", 260 just right in your face like that.
You know what I think it takes?
What?
Crack. Bro's clearly on something to be able to be over there and do that.
I mean,
because the emotion. Do you know how high the emotions are after a basketball game and you lose and it's in the playoffs?
How would you feel if your son hit a game winner to advance in the playoffs?
How would I feel? I
You
would
would be
be
over the moon.
I would be out
Yeah,
super
but-
excited. But you don't go up to the loser.
Oh,
hold
no,
on.
You don't do that.
No.
Hold
that
on.
you know.
Can I also put into perspective? It's the first round of the playoffs. He didn't go to the finals. He didn't win the finals. Also, he's playing against a team that's literally detrimented in injuries.
Right.
And Giannis is the only player on that team that's doing
Right,
work.
right.
And he showed up the entire series.
Bro, I'm
Right.
sorry.
Giannis is at an all-time low, but he showed up in every single game.
Right.
Like that's the last player you attack.
Yeah. Bro, the irony of that
Like-
statement, considering what team he supports, is hilarious.
Why?
Well, because Knicks fans, every time they win game one in the first round, are like, oh, we're winning the chip. And,
We always say that. That's
Yeah,
just
exactly.
New York. That's what New York teams say.
well, no, we don't.
Well, I understand.
The Nets are a very pessimistic franchise. But so basically that happened. And then Giannis got into a Benedict Mathurin. I don't even know what was said as far as that goes. But Giannis started putting him in a chokehold and stuff like
Really?
that. And yeah, it was really
Ooh, Benedict
strange.
Mathurin?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
He grabbed him behind the neck and stuff
Missed
like that.
Okay.
And then afterwards, after the game, Giannis gave a very long-winded philosophical answer
Yes.
in his press conference. He was fact-checked a little bit. I know there were some things he lied about. There were most
Like
of the
what?
things. He said that his dad, Hallie's dad, was cursing at him, but Hallie's dad's against swearing. He always was not fond of Tyrese swearing growing up and everything like that. So
That doesn't mean anything.
obviously, I know that, but from what I gathered, most of it, I do think I do like what Giannis said for the most part. As far as what Haliburton said, totally on the money. Because I expected him to defend his father, but he called his father out for the bullshit he was on.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I heavily respect him for that, especially after everything he went through the past couple of weeks, going through all the, starting the season off like garbage, then going through all the overrated crap, and now kind of proving all the doubters wrong. And then doing this, that's just, it's good character. You don't really see that much in the NBA these days. So I'll turn the
Okay.
floor over to y'all. Gio, what are
Yeah.
your thoughts on this whole debacle?
I'm just interested on how you're kind of spinning the narrative here to kind of credit Haliburton and credit Giannis, but not in the way that he really should be credited. Giannis Antetokounmpo, the fact that he was able to restrain himself from just completely swinging on this random dude who he didn't know who he was, some random guy coming up and yelling in his face. His ability to just stand there, look at him, and not do anything, I don't know how many people can do that. Who else could have done that?
But
Not me.
We saw LeBron do it with Stephen A. LeBron easily could have
is
swung
true.
on him. He could have hauled off.
No, that's totally different. LeBron approached Stephen A.
No, but what
totally different scenario.
I understand I understand he approached, but they both easily could have swung on both of them.
No, it's
Yeah.
totally different.
No.
It's totally different. I'll tell you why. After you lose an NBA basketball game, your emotions are insanely high, especially if you're winning 40 seconds to go.
Yeah.
Right? Your emotions, you're angry, super angry. All of a sudden you have this random dude come up running to your face,
Yeah.
pretty much L dancing on you. Okay? He's taunting you, right?
Yeah.
And it's some random guy, and then later on you find out it's an NBA player's dad. That's insanity.
No, he said
That's a totally hold on.
He said at first
That's a
he didn't
totally
know who it
different.
was. He knew a couple seconds after it happened.
Still a totally different scenario
Okay, fair.
than the LeBron Stephen A issue.
Okay,
You can't
fair.
even compare those two.
Fair. And to be fair, also LeBron is a father. That's a bad example to set in front of your kids if you swing on someone.
Yeah,
especially
true.
when you're a professional athlete and you swing on a fan.
Yeah.
The lawsuit that would ensue from that would be egregious.
Think about this. If Giannis were to push the fan or his dad or even throw a punch,
Yeah.
it could maybe be justified.
No,
but
I'm
if
not saying it is or it
LeBron
isn't.
approaches Stephen A. and clocks him, completely unjustifiable.
Bro, could you imagine?
That's what I'm saying.
Could you imagine if
Like,
bro did
that-
that?
that's
bro?
why
would've
it's-
been the funniest.
That's why it's
Bro.
two completely different scenarios.
It
You
is.
understand what I'm saying?
Stephen A. would have been on First Take next morning with this IV next to him
Yeah.
in the studio.
You would have had like the drip bag
Yeah.
on the roller.
I was assaulted by the king himself.
No, but so what I'm saying is Giannis' ability to restrain himself, outstanding, right?
Yeah,
and then
commend
part
him for
number
that.
2. You did, but not enough.
Look,
Part two,
Giannis
then you-
has a history of this kind of stuff.
Of what?
Giannis has a history of formatting his words to make him seem more of a different person than
Man,
he is.
you don't like Giannis.
I don't. I told you I
Wow.
don't.
Oh wait, you know
We're
what-
gonna get on you
no.
about this today, Tyler. What's all this about?
I don't like Giannis's fake humbleness. I don't like his fake
He's not-
toughness.
I don't think he's fake.
He
He's not
definitely
fake
is.
humble.
He
don't think
definitely
he's
is.
fake.
He is definitely.
Wait,
He's speaking his mind. He's going off the dome when he's in
He-
media.
he-
He's not rehearsing
wait.
this behind closed doors.
you know what? I'm gonna say something because I was saying this to a few of my coworkers at work that are massive Knicks fans, and also they're older people. Because I don't, but I am very humbled by Giannis that I am willing to ship Karl Anthony Towns' ass to Milwaukee for Giannis.
Well, duh.
I mean, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't?
I want that done literally first day of the offseason.
Who wouldn't?
Because we need Giannis in New York.
Look,
And
I
Cat.
tweeted it out after the press conference. I loved what he said. That has nothing to do with whether I like him or not.
No,
I call
but-
it how I see it.
But that's not what I'm talking. Because then you continue to spin it and say that Tyrese was such a good guy for
Yeah, what?
saying,
What?
yeah, he shouldn't have done that. When that's the obvious answer.
No, it's
if
not.
your dad, Tyler, if your dad came up to me after the game and was like, you suck, you lost, what would you say? Obviously, you're going to be like, my dad was out of line.
There's a lot of people that wouldn't say that. A lot of people will.
Well, then that
stumble
would
down
make
and
them
side with their
completely
parents.
unreasonable.
Exactly, but a lot of people do that. Is what I'm trying to say.
All I'm
Well-
saying is the common sense response to that is what Tyrese Haliburton is. So I don't think he should
don't-
get any credit beyond
I
the
don't-
common sense.
I don't think
Thank
that's-
you for being common.
I don't
a
think
common
that's-
man.
I don't think that's the common sense answer. A lot of people were surprised by what he said.
Okay,
A lot of people were.
I disagree.
That's because we both know Tyrese Halliburton's that kind of person. A
Well-
lot of people think Tyrese Halliburton's this arrogant front runner.
No, I don't. I didn't. I never said anything.
No, I'm not talking
that.
about you, but a lot of people think that Tyrese Halliburton is this arrogant front runner that only cares about himself. And that's just not the case. He's one of the nicest guys in the league. So a lot of people are starting to see now the type of person he is, the type of player he is.
I'm not going to go out and say he's the good Samaritan over here. I'm not going to say
I mean,
he's
he
Mother
is.
Teresa over here. I'm not going to say that.
Well,
But-
the logical thing to do for anybody is to do what he did. And they did agree that his father should not be there the rest of the postseason. Like, Hallie didn't fight it. His father shouldn't have fighted it either. I don't think it's in any way Hallie's fault because at the end of the day, John Haliburton is a grown man. He is his own person. Forget that he is Haliburton's father. He is his own person. Forget about bloodline. An own person should know what they're doing affects
Oh,
the
yeah.
game. So it's not a reflection on how Tyrese is. It's a reflection of how emotions, like
But-
Gio said, and John Haliburton comes onto the court. I don't know why security didn't get him off there right away. That's another thing.
Well, the game had ended. It was after the final buzzer.
Yeah,
Because
but
he scored with like 2 seconds left, and then
Yeah.
Gary Trent threw the heave.
yeah, I understand that.
That's when
but,
everyone just storms
Yeah,
the
listen,
court.
I mean, I think Hallie took it, he did very well with how, what the repercussions were for his father and what he said.
Let me tell you what Haliburton did. Because to me, Haliburton is a little bit cocky. I'm not saying he's out
I think
in front of anyone with it.
every
but
NBA
to
player is a
me,
little
I mean,
bit.
everyone has a little bit. Every NBA player has. They have to, right? You have to have the level of confidence. But I think
You need to. It's-
Tyrese is a little bit, a slight arrogance to him, just slightly. Okay, and I guess that comes from his dad because apparently,
I mean, yeah,
the way
the
his
apple
dad
doesn't fall far
reacted.
from the tree.
But here's the thing though. Tyrese probably went to his PR team. His PR team probably told him, "This is a great opportunity for you to look good. So here's what you're gonna say."
I mean-
and then he went out and did it. Credit to him.
He had no idea what happened until he got back to the locker room. He didn't see
How do we
anything
know
that
that?
happened. Bro, as soon as
His
the
PR team probably would have went up to apparently, buddy, your dad was going crazy
No.
at Giannis. Here's what you're gonna say.
No, because he never went over. Because when the game ended, he jumped on the table. He was like doing like the D Wade, Jalen Suggs celebration after he hit the half court in the March Madness in the Final Four.
Who did that?
Tyrese Haliburton. He
Tyrese.
went up on the
Yeah,
table.
like what Suggs was doing.
And then he had no idea what happened with his father. They showed him the video in the locker room, and that's when he found out. And then he spoke to his father, and then he came in for his press conference. So that's what it was.
Okay.
So
Nonetheless,
I just had to balance it out a little bit.
yeah, you tried. It was
You
it
don't,
was a good
you
effort.
don't like Giannis. I don't like Hallie
Yeah.
as much, and so we had to balance it out.
Yeah, we had
because
to,
there was,
yeah.
you know what I mean. Now we're back in the middle.
I mean,
somewhere.
I don't like Hallie either. Like, but like,
He's a little
the situation is bigger than basketball. It's about being a good person, and
Yeah.
if Hallie, of course, sided with his dad, that would be a really bad look for him and the NBA world and how they view him and how Giannis has a relationship with players in the league or other players as well.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully it doesn't happen again. I mean,
I just find it funny how Giannis is like, I believe, what did he say? Like being humble in victory.
Mm-hmm.
Remember last year when they played the Pacers, he started charging that ball boy to get the game ball. So,
I mean, I would do the same thing.
no, but the way, bro, he was like Isaiah Stewart after LeBron elbowed him. That was
my
the kind of
God.
crash out he had.
Because they were intentionally trying to keep it away from him.
No, because it was a rookie that scored his first points. You always give the game ball to the rookie that scores the
scored?
first point. I forgot who it was. I don't remember who it was.
is it Ben Shepherd?
No, it was
For-
someone else.
Milwaukee?
No, for Indiana. One of their rookies had scored their first career bucket. So it may have been Ben Shepherd, but I have no idea.
Probably not. I don't know.
But moral of the story is the NBA and the Indiana Pacers did the right thing. They suspended indefinitely Haliburton's dad from attending any Pacers games. And my guess is that's going to carry into next season, we think. I'm not too sure. And yeah, I mean, I got to give credit to Giannis, not only for obviously the situation that happened with Haliburton's dad. He fucking hooped the entire freaking series.
Every series.
It was a joy to
Every
watch.
game.
He was one of the best players in the first round, like undoubtedly. I would say he was like top 3 in the
Easily.
first round.
Yeah, I mean,
so
we can't. He put everything out on it by himself. We can't say he sucked at all. Like
No.
he left it all out
Yeah.
there to be.
he was the only Bucks player that wasn't dog shit. If we're being brutally honest.
Well, yes, I agree
So-
with that 100%.
So we'll obviously see what happens with Giannis in the offseason. We don't know if he'll be playing for another team. A lot of the reports are saying he's not going to get traded, but
Yeah.
they said that about Kevin Durant. They said that about Mikal Bridges. They say that about everybody, and it winds up not being true. So we'll just have to see kind of going forward. But lads, do we have any final thoughts regarding this situation, the Bucks-Pacers series, anything?
No.
So let me ask y'all a question. What are the 2 greatest words in playoff basketball?
Free throw.
Why?
No.
Not even close.
Game winner.
Close. Game 7.
Buzzer beater. Oh, game 7.
Game 7. Game 7 are the 2 greatest words, really just in sports, in the
Jalen
playoffs.
Brunson.
Okay, yeah, I guess. So obviously, we saw 2 Game 7s over the past weekend. But before we get into that, I want to give a quick shout out to 2 brothers that really showed their stuff in the first round, and that's Amen and Asar Thompson.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not going to talk about the Knicks Pistons. We'll talk about the Warriors Rockets in a bit. But the fact that the 2 of them were, you visibly saw the exhaustion and the frustration on the Knicks and the Warriors' faces, just having to be guarded by those 2 guys. So I just want to get your thoughts, mainly Antoine, just since you are a Knicks fan, just your thoughts on what the Twins were able to do this playoffs, because they deserve some love.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we know Amen, broke out this year, with his scoring and everything. The first year, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And we always saw Amen as the more, I guess, scorer, and Asar was more of like the defensive guy, getting steals, like deflections, assists. But Asar did have some nice games. Asar is coming a lot, I think, better and quicker than Amen, actually.
Really?
I think Asar is a little bit ahead of him.
You think so?
I think Asar is a little ahead of
I
him.
disagree. But
I think
continue.
Asar,
I'm kind of 50-50 on it.
from what he showed, I think Asar is, I mean, they're both there. But Asar, I think, defensively is locked down. And, he did put up, I think, a 20-point game, and he gets more steals and blocks and everything. They're both all over the court.
Yeah.
I think they both play a similar type of game,
Definitely.
but it just the different teams they're on is different play styles. I think this year scoring wise is better than Asar. Like he could be the franchise point guard. Asar should be the starting small forward or power forward for the Pistons next year.
Amen is good on ball.
Yeah.
Asar is good off ball.
Yeah, and like
Good.
Asar had like a slow start last year. Like he was kind of like very inconsistent, and then the blood clots came along like all right, he'll come back. And this year it looks like he took from last year to this year, it's like a little bit of a 180 for him. But I think next year he'll be, when he's fully healthy. Well, he is fully healthy, but when he plays a full season and that Pistons team gets better, I think he's gonna really take off. And then probably next year as well. I'm hoping the same thing for him.
I mean, I can tell you why Asar took off this year because the answer is actually quite simple.
Cade.
Well, not necessarily Cade. We'll talk about him in a bit, but obviously last year when Monty Williams was the coach, they lost 28 straight. He wasn't even playing Asar in most games. Then he goes out for the season. The Pistons hired J.B. Bickerstaff in the summer. Now, this took me a while to kind of figure out what the difference was. And there was an interview with Darius Garland at All-Star Weekend. The main difference that Kenny Atkinson made that upgraded their offense was Kenny Atkinson took Evan Mobley and moved him from the dunker spot to the three-point line. So because Evan Mobley can shoot and Jared Allen couldn't, you needed that five-out spacing. With Detroit, Asar can't shoot. So J.B. Bickerstaff has that forward he can put in the dunker spot. And in game 5... it was game 5 against the Knicks. He had like maybe 8 dunks just purely in the dunker spot, whether it's off lobs or just backdoor feeds. That's the player J.B. Bickerstaff needed on Cleveland last year for it to work. But Evan Mobley's not that type of player. He's more of a stretch big. Asar is a brick, so he has to be in an interior role. Yeah. So that's essentially what it is. But Gio, do you have any quick thoughts on the Thompson Twins?
Yeah, I mean, that was a cool take, interesting take you just gave us. But I have to say, the both of them are very similar, like you guys mentioned. I'm just going to echo that. If they played against each other, like one-on-one, that would probably last for eternity just because of their play styles. I mean, they're good on offense, but their defense is just outstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I just feel like Amen is the more advanced, more confident NBA player at this point, especially like you said, Tyler, with the ball in his hands.
Agreed.
And I think the more you have the ball in their hands, the more opportunity you have, and the more opportunity you have, the higher the ceiling that you have, which means the greater potential that you overall have. Right. You get what I'm trying to say?
I get it.
So I feel like Amen Thompson's ceiling, just because of that alone, his confidence with the ball in his hands, his ceiling is a little bit higher than Asar's. But
I respect it. Yeah. And shout out, both Curry and Brunson said in their post-game pressers, like, both of them are dogs, gave them hell the entire series, really made them work. And that's honestly really promising. They're in year 2. Usually players slump in year 2. So that's a good sign going forward. And I think that answers really a lot of questions for both the Pistons and the Rockets. So now let's get into the Game 7s. I guess we'll just go in chronological order of what happened first. So we'll start off with the Saturday game, which was the Denver Nuggets and the Los Angeles Clippers. One of the best series we've had in a pretty long time as far as like first round goes. This was really back and forth. This was, unfortunately one of the worst games of the entire series because it just was a blowout. The Nuggets put belt to ass. They won the game by 19, even though they were up by like 30 something at one point. Just a phenomenal game all across the board from Denver. Jokic didn't really have to do much. No. I think he only had like 13 or 14 points.
16.
No, 16 points is what it was. Jamal Murray was fantastic. Aaron Gordon was fantastic. MPJ was great. Really just across the board. Christian Brown had his best game of his playoff career, I think, or at least one of them. So, Gio, you're a Nuggets fan right now. Just tell us your thoughts on this game.
Bro, I got 2 words for you.
Russell Westbrook.
Hello. Thank you very much. But actually, before I get into that, I want Anthony, you have the stats right now, right? Can you just read like the efficiency and the points?
Like the plus minus?
No, because we all know there was plus. But tell us like what the player shot from the field and how many points they had.
For who?
For the Nuggets. I want to hear about the Nuggets.
Aaron Gordon was 9 of 16.
Okay.
3-pointer doesn't really count. MPJ was 6 of 11, 3 threes. Jokic was 6 of 14. Jamal Murray was 7 for 15. Brown was 8 of 15, 3 of 5 from 3. P.Y. was 4 for 4, 1 of 1 from 3.
P.Y. 4 for 4.
Russ was 5 of 9, 2 of 4 for 3.
So here's the thing. Outstanding game from the Nuggets. I'll clap for them. You guys can clap if you want. But
Yeah, we'll
look,
clap
listen,
it up.
Outstanding game from the Nuggets. Russell Westbrook, 2 for 4 from 3.
Yeah.
5 for 9 from the field.
Honestly, his offense was fine. His defense in that game was really what.
5 steals.
Yeah.
And just overall, just disruption.
Yeah.
I think I
to
saw
the Clippers.
he was like the first player in like a game 7 to have like 10 plus points. I think it was like 5 rebounds,
5 assists.
steals, and assists. Yeah. It was like something along those lines.
Hell of a game.
It was one incredible game.
I'm telling you, like I said in the chat, I texted in the chat, he is the best X Factor player in the NBA right now. Because, look, here's the thing.
Yeah.
An X Factor player is going to be the reason why you win, and they're going to be the reason why you lose. If they don't perform, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
If they do perform, you're going to win. He is that guy. If he plays at this level we saw, I think the Nuggets will go all the way.
Wow.
I really do think that. But he needs to be at that level, and if he is, the Nuggets, it might be their year.
But
if not,
that's the other problem though with
What is
Russ.
it?
Because like, look, I'll give you a different example as far as an X factor goes. Let's say Norman Powell, right?
Yeah.
If Norman Powell's on his shit, the Clippers win.
That's what I'm
easily.
saying.
But when he's not playing well, it's just the Clippers struggle. Russ will have a game where he'll just be so impactful, and then he'll have a game where he'll be the Clippers MVP. Like
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like
that's what an X Factor is.
Like I said that tweet a couple weeks ago, he's the Mario Kart item box. You never know what you're going to get from him. It's either going to help you out or it's going to absolutely screw you over.
You know, it's funny. He
You have no
literally said
chance.
that in the post game interview.
You probably saw the tweet.
Do you remember what he said in the post game interview?
what
He
did
said something about how he is just
He's
that
gonna-
kind of player.
He wants to fuck shit up. That's what he
And
said.
yeah, he's like a
Yeah.
disruptor or something.
Yeah.
And he said, you don't know what you can get from me. You can get a turnover from me. You can get a made 3. You can get a missed 3. You can
Yeah.
get an assist here and there, a steals. Like he literally described himself in
we
the post game
really
interview.
saw the whole spectrum in that series. We saw threes, we saw steals, we saw missed dunks, we saw air balls, we saw turnovers. He did everything really. He got a tech. So yeah, it's basically just what Russ is. But the real story of that game to me was not Russell Westbrook. The real story of this game is the same reoccurring problem that we've had for 16 years in the NBA now, and it's the man with the beard, James Harden. Countless times in Game 7 specifically, when they need him to show up, he is awful. I mean, it's really like I saw like all of his Game 7 stats. I think he's averaging like 19 points
Yikes.
on like 30% from the field or something close to those numbers. He had 8 shots on Saturday.
Yeah. That was that.
What was he doing? What was he doing the night before?
Yeah, I mean,
Like I don't understand.
I just don't know because like the past 3 Game 7s he's played in, I'll give him a pass when he was with us because he was literally on one leg. But even still, he was a free throw merchant. He had like 15 free throws and was 5 of 17 from the field. Then him and Embiid stunk up the joint against Boston, and then you saw this. It's just so perplexing.
yeah, I mean, him and Norm both didn't show up. That was the biggest problem. And, if they both showed up, it probably would have been a lot closer game, and they probably would have maybe won or something to that line.
No, I don't think
They weren't beating the Nuggets that night.
No, the
Yeah.
Nuggets were the
They're on
Nuggets
fire.
literally had multiple 15-0 runs in that game.
And everyone was hitting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
That's what it is. It's about whose
It
X
is.
factors show up in those
Exactly.
games, and that's just what it was, really.
yeah.
So,
Man.
but yeah, to me, like Russ is the biggest wild card I think in the NBA as far as X factor goes. I think when he's on his shit, Aaron Gordon is way more impactful. As far as on both ends for
I don't know.
well, he has to guard the best player and also do some scoring as well as being the backup 5. So I feel like he has more to do.
Aaron Gordon's so good to the point where I expect him to produce every single time. So to me, he's not necessarily an X factor.
Okay,
An X factor
fair.
to me is someone where it's like, if this guy plays great, this team wins. But
that-
it's if.
but
Like,
that
it's
was
not
the-
expected.
That was the difference though in the Minnesota series last year. Gordon had 4 points in Game 7, and he had 28 in Game
Right.
5.
I don't know.
So-
Maybe he's taking a leap this year because I haven't seen any single-digit performances so far in the playoffs
I think
for him.
I think he had one bad game in this series, but
Okay.
he's definitely taken more of a responsibility,
Definitely.
obviously. But he also has to guard the best player. He's going to be guarding Chet most likely, or
Yeah.
J-Dub, one of the two, going up against OKC, which we'll talk
gonna be
about in a
exciting,
bit.
yeah.
It's going to be a fun series. But
Yeah.
do we have any sort of final thoughts? Obviously, I know Kawhi. I'm glad that he's healthy. Didn't really play well in Game 7 either. The Clippers just notoriously
Fell apart.
fall apart when when it matters most. And
Yeah.
not much else you can really say about it. This team failed to win when they had the chance. And now you have all these teams getting a lot better, like OKC, like Minnesota, like Houston. So it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
So do we have any final thoughts on this game?
No.
All right, let's talk about the second game 7. This one was interesting, to say the least, between the Warriors and the Rockets. Warriors blew a 3-1 lead, but did not lose the series. They wound up taking game 7, really handled business. Buddy Hield was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was absolutely just torching Houston. And, Houston just could not generate anything offensively. No one wanted to step up. No one wanted to play hero ball. It was just, they had their chance in the fourth quarter. They got the lead down to 2 or 3, and then Golden State responded with like a 12-0 run. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on this game, guys?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the same thing as we did with Harden. Jalen Green only took 8 shots.
Jalen Green.
8 shots, that was it. I mean, Şengün was the most with 23. He had 21 points. Amen had 24-9. And that's
You had
kind of-
24, men.
Yeah, 24.
Pretty good.
And that's all, the bench was okay. But the 4 starters on Golden State were just, that was the difference between
Yeah.
them two.
Even Draymond was hitting in the beginning.
Yeah,
Draymond,
He was
same thing.
aggressive.
Draymond's just a notoriously good Game 7 performer.
Is he actually?
Yeah. Game 7, Draymond just like, that's why the Warriors experience is so key, because these guys have been there
Exactly.
and done that several times.
Yeah, and I think, Buddy in the lineup too is really good. Like, Buddy, he's 32, and
What did he finish with?
he had 33.
And then what about Curry?
22 and 10.
Curry was awful in the first half.
Yeah, he
And that was
was.
where the Rockets fucked up. You have to take it. The Rockets should have been up 20 at the half. Let's be honest.
They should have been up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something they're really going to scratch their heads about. But
I'll tell you what, though, Fred VanVleet did an outstanding job on defense.
he did, yeah. For
An
his
outstanding
size,
job.
you got to give bro credit.
He just plays with this.
Yeah.
He knows where Curry's going, and he's disrupting him constantly throughout the game. That's what I saw.
And like Draymond said, Fred VanVleet was one of the main reasons they won the finals in 2019. So he's always going to give the Warriors fits. And he always gave us fits. Like, he's a notorious Nets killer. It's just he's a pain in the ass, man.
Yeah, he is.
I'll get into Fred VanVleet later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because he is a team option, and that should be declined.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be against
and
that.
let him go.
Okay.
I don't know.
So,
We'll have to see.
I think he's a great. If you can get another point guard and he can come off the bench,
Well,
awesome.
You have a man, bro.
well, they could decline a team option and just sign him back to a more friendlier deal.
He won't do that, especially after the
Well-
series he had. You're better off him opting in and just trading
Okay.
his ass.
I don't think
That's
Amen
fair.
it should be the point guard. To be honest,
I don't know, man.
he's not a pure he's not a playmaker.
because he doesn't get the chance to. He
But
doesn't get-
have you seen flashes of him
yes,
being
I
a
have.
playmaker?
I see the same flashes with his playmaking as I do with Dyson Daniels. They're both really underrated playmakers.
Okay.
They're not obviously up to the level of Haliburton and Trae Young, but they're good enough
Okay.
where they can
Yeah.
be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, this game 7, it wanted to be good, but it just couldn't. This series was just offensive war crimes,
Yeah.
just all over the place.
Yeah.
No one was really efficient. I think Minnesota's probably licking their chops at whoever won that game, which we'll get into in just a few moments. But
Exactly.
with this game specifically, I literally just lost my train of thought of the question I wanted to ask you. Does this give you promise, Gio? Because obviously, don't get into like the nitty gritty on what Houston needs to do, but does it
Right.
give you like promise as far as the future goes?
For Houston,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, this is a team that we didn't really expect to be this good. They were the 2 seed in the West, right?
Yep.
They took the Warriors with all their experience to 7 games,
Yeah, man.
and they learned a lot from this series. That's one thing they can take away. They got beaten 7 games, but they're also going to learn a lot. I hope they keep this young core together. That's going to be key for them going forward, I think. But, yeah.
It depends. There's definitely moves that need to be made. I think this series definitely gave them that definite sense of who are they going to build around, who's going to go. There should be no question marks or hesitations at all going into the offseason.
Right.
Yeah.
And to me, that's really kind of all they need, to be honest with you.
Right.
So yeah, that was the game 7. Do we have any sort of final thoughts regarding any of these?
No.
All right, so let's get into our second round predictions now. Since obviously some of these series will be a couple games deep by the time this episode comes out. So we only watched the first game 1 last night, right? Which was Cleveland and Indiana.
Yep.
The Knicks and Celtics are playing right now, but we're obviously not watching it because we're filming. So we really don't have a sense of really anything. So we're just going to kind of take it in turns on, or we'll go through series by series to see what we'll do. So what conference do you guys want to start in?
Let's go East. Yeah.
We'll start in the East. So we'll start off, I guess, with the game that already played so far, the Indiana Pacers and the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah.
No Darius Garland in game one.
Yep.
Concerns that he'll be even available for the series.
Wow.
The Cavs lost game one. The Pacers really just took control, shot fantastic from the field and from three. Cleveland obviously did not. And now, you're left in a situation where Cleveland is not even sure that DeAndre Hunter or Evan Mobley is going to play tomorrow
Exactly.
due to injuries. So
You can go down 2-0.
they could, yeah.
Scary.
It's really unfortunate. We're just seeing based on what happened throughout the season. They were healthy all year up until the playoffs. It's just super unfortunate. So I guess whoever wants to, go first can go first.
Yeah.
What do you got in the series and how many games?
I'll start it off. I mean, I'm going to swap what I have because now learning about Mobley and Hunter, because you texted that after I did the prediction,
Yeah.
I'm going to swap what I have.
Okay.
I'll go Indy in 6.
In 6. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. Now, what if they all come back?
I would go Cleveland in 6 or 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
I still think Indy has a good shot, even if they do come back.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm sticking with what I had.
You had Indy in 7.
Indy in
right?
7.
I don't remember
Okay.
what you said. You
I think
either
either 6 or 7.
Yeah.
I'll go 6 right now since there's injuries.
Okay, fair, yeah.
But either way, I had Indy winning.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Now, obviously, we all know during the playoff predictions episode, I was so undecided on this series.
Yeah.
I made up my mind after game 1 of Bucks Pacers. So good news is I made up my mind then. I'm sticking with it. I'm going Indiana in 6 games.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
I'm sticking with my gut. Pacers fans showed me a lot of love last night on Twitter. So, because bro, I mean, not only did I pick them to win it all in our bold predictions episode, but they were my preseason pick to win the East. So I got to stick with them.
Yeah.
So I love what they're doing. I love the way they're playing. And can I just read y'all some stats real
Please.
quick? Oh my goodness. So this backcourt duo is so underrated in Indiana. It's ridiculous. Andrew Nembhard, let me just read you his stats in the regular season. In the regular season, he averaged 10 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, 28% from 3, 46% from the field, 79% from the line, and averaged 2 turnovers a game. In the playoffs, he's averaging 16 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, 52% from the field, 57% from 3. He hasn't missed a free throw yet, and he's not even averaging a turnover, and he's plus 56 in these first 6 games.
he keeps acting like this. He's going to be Jamal Murray.
He
Playoff
basically
riser.
he's Canadian, so
Okay.
they obviously are well familiar with
Something
each
about
other.
that, except for SGA. Hello.
In it, yeah, basically. And obviously, Haliburton in the playoffs has 31 assist points created, which is leading the league in that, on 5.9 assist to turnover ratio, which is the 3rd best in the league. Through his first 6 games, he has 71 assists, 7 blocks, and 13 three-pointers made. He's the first player in NBA history to ever reach those numbers. Even more on Haliburton. There have been 3 players in the last 60 years to total 100-plus points, 70-plus assists, and 35-plus rebounds through their first 6 games in a single playoff run. Magic Johnson, Rajon Rondo, and now Tyrese Haliburton. So we're starting to see a little bit of a trend here. In his playoff career as it stands, I think was last year's first time in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
He has 194 assists and 43 turnovers.
It's pretty dang good.
And that's what you went 6 games in the first round last year. You went 7 against the Knicks. That's 13. And then you went 4. So 17 plus 6. That's 23 games.
What's that ratio? 100 what?
194 assists with 43 turnovers.
That's like close to 10 assists a game.
10-to-1 ratio?
Yeah.
Around there, I guess. I'm not too sure
Holy.
the exact number.
Are we good at math or not?
I haven't done a math class in years.
I think we might be off on that one.
Yeah, it's something good. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Maybe I think it's like 5.9.
Okay.
Something around those lines. And then in game 1, combined with Nembhard, they had 45 points on 16 to 25 from the field, 1 turnover. Their ball security pause is ridiculous. The fact that they don't turn the ball over
Yeah, that's
is
amazing.
part of what makes that offense cook
100%.
because they're just getting to they're not playing defense much
Right,
because they're
right,
just
right.
on the offensive end.
Their offense is their defense.
Let me tell you this. There's one stat called it's like a nerd index. it combines all the advanced metrics and averages them out. So you're looking at like box plus minus, value over replacement, estimated plus minus, estimated wins. Have you heard of the metric LeBron, where it's like it measures your impact and stuff like that and your game score? He ranked 5th in the NBA this year.
Tyrese?
Yeah. So, you know, the stats back it up. The numbers are there. The way he's able to play, and it looks like he's got his shot back. I mean, he had Jared Allen on skates in the fourth quarter numerous times. So overrate that.
Yeah.
But
His impact on the game is definitely something that you can see.
yeah,
Like, it doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but you can see it.
it's starting to show up on the stat sheet now.
And it's starting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've been fighting for this kid since he got traded to Indiana. So I am a firm believer. And I think after these playoffs ends, he will be a top 10 player in the league.
Wow. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
He's on that
He's on
trajectory
that trail?
right now. Yeah.
Look, if he goes to the finals and he's the best player on the team, then maybe.
Yeah, bro, I'm telling you.
Okay,
Yeah.
man.
So yeah. So obviously we all picked the Pacers to go through. It really would take Indy getting injured or Cleveland getting everyone back for me to go Cavs in 7. It just seems bleak right now, especially after the game we saw.
Right.
So let's get to the Celtics and the Knicks. So obviously right now they are playing. The score is currently 61-45 Boston. So they are pulling away a little bit. They're up by 16. So they just went on an 8-0 run. So Antoine, I guess we'll just rip this off like a Band-Aid, bro. What do you got here?
Well, I said Celtics in 5. It's going to stay that way.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I did say Celtics in 4 if I had that scenario. The thing is, it's really hard to beat a team that many times in a row. I do think the Knicks get 1 win.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go Celtics in 5. I'm going to be a little bit nicer here, even though
Yeah.
I do think they'll sweep them.
Yeah, I say sells in 6.
Yeah, I don't think it's close at all.
Knicks get 2.
Look, I'll tell you this, Gio.
They come back tonight. They come back and win tonight.
The Celtics have not gone to a game 6 since the conference finals in 2023.
Damn.
So, like Brian Windhorst said on First Take, if the Knicks actually push the Celtics to a game 6, like that's a huge accomplishment. Like that's insanely good.
Yeah, that's true.
So, especially considering every time you've played Boston, like
They trash you.
they basically was the combined like margin of victory like plus 16 and a half or something like that.
It was around that.
Even if you get swept and lose all these games close, that's still a moral victory you can take with you.
Exactly.
But it's tough when the Knicks make it past round 1 and you get the absolute piss poor matchup in the second round.
Exactly.
I think Brunson and Cat will be able to get them too.
I think they can get 1.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be a CTE from 3 for Boston. So you'll get 1 of those games. But
CTE from 3. I like that.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, so yeah, that's the East. Let's get to the West. We'll go to the 1-4 game, 1-4. The OKC Thunder and the Denver Nuggets. Gio, out of the 3 teams remaining in the West, the Thunder are 8-8. So maybe
8
not
8. What do you mean 8 8?
record.
What do you mean by that?
They're 8-8 against this
Nuggets?
season. They're 8-8 combined against the Nuggets, Wolves, and Warriors.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Okay.
So
Wow.
maybe not as dominant as we see.
Right.
Yeah.
However, the Nuggets just played 7 games in a grueling physical series.
Yeah.
So to me, this series is really tough to call. Really depends. Game 1 is probably going to be a blowout victory for OKC.
No.
Because the Nuggets are on no rest.
Yeah, but look,
They're going to be exhausted. The Thunder have been sitting around all week getting ready. That's kind of the thing.
I think it's
Yeah.
one of 2 things. It's either going to be a very tight game where the OKC Thunder pull out and win,
Yep.
or it's going to be Nuggets blowout and Nuggets win by 15.
Really? Mm-hmm. Are you too like whatchamacallit? Are you too
You going off of adrenaline?
No, I think he's going off of what Minnesota did last year when they
No.
beat the Nuggets in those first 2 games.
No, I'm going based off of how well they played against the Clippers, the confidence that they have from that.
Okay, fair.
And they might ride that into the beginning of this series. And so if they do that, they'll blow out the Thunder in this game. The Thunder might be cold, So
Yeah.
they either
Fair.
blow them out in game 1 or it's a close game. And the Nuggets are a little tired, right? So if it's a close game, OKC wins.
So I'm trying to remember what we had last time. So you had Nuggets in 6, I had Thunder in 6, and you had Thunder in 7. So
That's how I'm staying.
I'm keeping it.
you're keeping
Yep.
it. I'm also keeping it. I think
I might go Nuggets in 7, actually.
Nuggets in 7. I'm going to
Yeah.
go Thunder in 6, mainly because I am a human jinx. So, put that pressure on SGA.
Wait,
you know?
am I the one that predicted every first round correct?
No.
No.
Yeah, I had
Could've
Warriors in
been you.
Minnesota.
Oh, yeah, he did.
No, it could have been you. It was me.
It actually was him. He picked the whole first round correct.
You know, credit to you.
So
bro.
congratulations.
Credit to you.
I actually didn't do that bad of a job. Like, I got a few series like exactly spot on. Like, both 1 seed swept the Nuggets in 7.
Yeah.
So
And then
I had Celtics in 5.
Yeah. I was the most far off, I guess.
Yeah. Bro, if only they just called the Tim Hardaway foul, that would have been one of my greatest predictions ever. So there's no way the Knicks are winning Game 7 at the Garden.
Damn.
Unlucky.
I need to see if I get all second round correct.
I actually would have liked to see the Pistons play the Celtics. That would have been a fun series.
Well, I don't know. It also
I don't
could have been a
think so.
blowout.
Could you
It would've been a
imagine though,
blowout
like,
series.
could you imagine Tatum being guarded by a Sar? The way he guarded Brunson.
That would be
imagine
fun to
him on
watch.
Tatum.
It'll still be Celtics in 4 or 5 games.
I picked the Celtics in 6 when it happened, or when we did our predictions.
Yeah.
So, and then we get into the more interesting series
Yeah.
in the Western Conference, the 6-7 game, the Wolves and the Warriors.
Oh.
Obviously, the Wolves played a 5-game series pretty quick and seamless against the Lakers. The Warriors went through the Rockets in 7 games, didn't really expend as much energy as Denver had to do. The series was physical, but not to the point of overexertion. So what do we view in this series? Now, as far as what we remember, we both had Houston winning. So obviously, we have to come up with a new prediction. You had Minnesota moving on in 7 games.
That's correct.
So we'll go to you first, considering you have this series.
Yeah.
What are we saying? What are we thinking?
Same thing. Minnesota is winning in 7.
Okay.
Doesn't
It's a lot of games. I think Minnesota wins on 5 or 6 games.
Well, you're just the Warriors hater.
Yeah.
So,
I also don't. I think the Timberwolves are so much better.
yeah.
Like right now than they were like
Yeah.
a month ago.
Exactly.
They're so good right now. So that's another reason why. And I'm a Warriors hater.
You
You're
know
right.
what? We actually never talked about the Rudy Gobert game.
Yeah, talk about it right now, really quick.
I want you to talk about
Listen,
it, considering you're his biggest fan.
I'll tell you. Look, I'll tell you right now why he had a crazy game is because Jackson Hayes was literally on the bench the whole time. If they had one 7-footer in there, he would not have had that game. We all know that. It's because their tallest player was LeBron James. Let's be real.
And
Let's be real. That's all I'm gonna say. Like if look, Rudy Gobert he's a good player. That's it. He's not great.
I think
he's good.
I think he's a great player.
You could have put, well, I don't know, give me another 7-footer. You could have put Steven Adams in there. He would have had a similar game. Okay, he would have had 20 rebounds and he would have had probably like, I don't know, 17 points or something. You know what I mean?
I don't know, but we've been seeing, but even at the end of like throughout March and the beginning of April, Rudy Gobert was having these really good games. So we're starting to see more of it. And I'm really excited to see this series specifically because the Warriors don't play anyone taller than 6'9".
So he might eat.
He might eat, and it will be honestly. I would love to see him knock Draymond out of the playoffs.
Oh wow,
I'm gonna go Wolves in 6.
wow.
Well, Wolves in 6. Curry,
I like it.
I think Curry and Jimmy Butler's experience will get them 2 games quite handily. I think they'll both be convincing wins.
Okay.
So I think they'll split in Minnesota, and I think they'll split in Golden State, and then I think Minnesota wins the last 2 games to send them on to the conference finals.
I have a question for you guys.
Yeah, what's up?
The question is, so we all know Anthony Edwards is supposed to, because he knocked off LeBron James, right?
Yep.
He knocked off KD last year. Now it's Curry,
Yes.
right? So Curry's next up. And we all know he's supposed to knock off Curry and to anoint him as the next face of the league, right? This is what everyone's saying.
Yes.
So that being said, if he does not knock off Curry, if he loses to Curry and Curry ends up having a better series than him, Curry outperforms him in every way and they win, right? Golden State moves on.
Right.
Does that mean that does that look worse for Anthony Edwards or does that look better for Stephen Curry? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is it more of a credit towards Stephen Curry's resume
Or is it a knock
or is it
on
more of a demerit towards Anthony Edwards' resume? What do you guys think?
It's not demeriting Anthony Edwards at all.
No.
I don't think it's
If
just,
Curry outperforms him.
It's just a start for him. Curry,
I don't know,
it's
man.
still in the end of his prime.
Okay.
It would look worse if Ant got outperformed by a rising star.
Correct.
So because it's Steph, he's already one of the faces of the league. Like, think about it this way. If the Wolves go to the finals and Tatum outperforms Anthony Edwards, for example, that would be a demerit, obviously. Because I think Tatum right now should be the face of the league. I think Tatum's the most overhated player in sports. And he just doesn't get that credit because he plays for an all-time great team.
Yep.
Where Anthony Edwards, let's be honest, like it's in that closeout game, he didn't really play that good.
Right.
So he's just
Yeah.
getting credit
He didn't
because
really need to.
Right, he's just getting credit because he's the franchise player on that team.
Right.
Whereas, like, if Jaden McDaniels wasn't on the floor, they would have struggled a lot more, for
sure.
example, right? Whereas Jason Tatum, like, he has the most points in a Game 7 ever. Like, Jason Tatum has stepped up when need be. And obviously he's had his faults and stuff like that, but I think the praise Anthony Edwards gets, Tatum barely gets half of that. And Tatum has to do a lot more.
It's because of the there's a lot that weighs into it.
It's
Anthony
tough,
has the personality,
Exactly.
not you. Although you do have some personality.
Yeah, he's got his own bit of
some
flair.
personality,
Yeah,
bro.
Thank you.
But Anthony Edwards, he has the personality to be the face of the league. He has the explosiveness, the excitement around him. So I don't know. It might be just that, but I personally feel that it's more of a demerit towards Anthony Edwards if he doesn't
because
come
you're
through with this.
because you're a Curry hater and like why are you losing to Stephen
Yeah.
Curry?
Well, Steph is
That's part of it.
This dude was on my ass about Haliburton.
That's
bro.
part of it, bro.
Steph is in his own world compared to Hallie.
Yeah.
So you can't,
No, but yeah, what I'm trying to say is like last year I expected big things from Anthony Edwards, and it was okay. I gave him a pass because it's a lot of things were thrown at him. You know what I mean? And he had to learn. He had a learning experience, and I'm like, okay, next year this is your year. And now again you lose, and you're probably the favorites going into the series, right?
They are.
Timberwolves
Yeah.
are definitely the favorites, and so if you don't learn from your mistakes last year, then it's like, okay, I'm going to start panicking a little bit, not a lot. I'm going to start panicking a little bit because, like, okay, when is he actually going to step up to the plate?
I'm not panicking. It's just a start for him. And the team
Yeah, but we said that 2 years ago.
No,
we said that, like, last
no.
year.
No,
So
listen.
2 years ago he didn't make it out of the first round.
You want to know why this is a start for him?
So that was the start for him.
guess.
I am a low-key Minnesota Timberwolves fan. You know why?
Because of Anthony Edwards.
And because A-Rod owns the team now.
Okay.
We're part of the team.
But
I love the
you need to root for their downfall though, because they control the rest of your future.
Yeah.
And you need to win this trade, even though you're not going
so,
to.
like,
but,
I love the Timberwolves because Anthony Edwards, but now A-Rod's owner. This is the start. They just took over this year. That team's gonna get incrementally better year by year.
Okay.
That's why.
We need to see this because based on what I'm seeing, I feel like Minnesota is kind of on that same pathway to a goal that Indiana's on. I just think Indiana has more of the pieces to do it. And at the end of the day, you're not going to be the face of the league unless you do it. That's why I think Tatum has the better shot right now because he has the ring. And if they wind up repeating, which they very well could, he'll probably get Finals MVP because this isn't as good of a Brown playoff because he's injured. So that's kind of what it is.
Could you imagine a Minnesota-Boston finals? That would be beautiful.
cool.
Well, listen.
Face off for the
Don't
face
forget,
of the league.
we're still waiting for Rob Dillingham's uprising. Hopefully that comes next year.
I'll come next year, yeah.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
he's not going to
that's-
be as good as Anthony Edwards.
No.
Well,
No way.
we will see.
He's not going to be as
No,
good.
not as good, but he'll be a really good point
He'll
guard.
be
if he
a
comes
be an
out.
very
elite
good
role player.
complementary player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just what it is.
And the rest of the lineup as well.
Yeah. Because he'll be a good contributing piece to a winning team.
Yeah.
And that's really what you need if
all you
Anthony Edwards is going to take that leap. That's what we're going to see. I don't want to see what we saw against Dallas last year. It was really bad. So if we
Yeah.
see that, then, it's tough. But I think the Wolves in the finals would actually be a really fun series.
Yes.
Regardless of who they play, whether it's Boston, Indiana, I think one of those two teams against Minnesota would be a really good finals.
I like how you left the
Yeah.
Cavaliers out of there.
Or, Cleveland will be a good finals also. Donovan Mitchell versus Anthony Edwards. Like
That'd
I
be cool.
said, Donovan Mitchell, I said, was better going into this season.
Ooh.
He's playing well in the playoffs. He was like Cleveland's best player yesterday.
Yeah, I hope so.
So, and, I guess the Knicks, but like, let's just be realistic, right? So
Brunson versus Anthony Edwards.
that'll be interesting in the fact that Brunson would probably be guarded by J-Mac.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Exactly.
yeah, I just don't know if Brunson's body can withhold going all the way to the finals based on that
no way.
ankle
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
He tweaked it maybe 3 or 4 times against the
Yeah.
Pistons.
It's over.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, it's definitely interesting. And I guess we'll just give a long shot in the dark. Call it right now. Who wins over who in the finals and how many games?
Oh. Are we calling
I
it?
think
or-
I'm still gonna go Celtics, OKC in 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
I might have to go Celtics. I want to say Nuggets, but my heart's saying Minnesota.
Okay.
Celtics, Minnesota, Celtics in 7.
Okay. until OKC can prove to me otherwise that they're not going to the finals, I'm still picking them to go. I got Indy over OKC in 7. I'm riding with it.
Going with Andy.
I think it's actually realistic, man.
Okay.
I think it could
have
be.
to see.
If
They're a
OKC,
good team.
if they beat Cleveland, there's no reason why they can't beat Boston.
That's a fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So,
enough.
and I think they almost did it 4 times last year. So,
Except they lost all 4 times.
exactly. But that's the adjustments that are going to be made this year. So it's okay. It's all right. So we're chilling.
Yeah.
So, do we have any final thoughts on this before we get into the main segment?
Let's go.
No, let's roll.
Into the main segment we go. So obviously, as I mentioned in the intro, as you can tell by the title and thumbnail, we're going to be going through every NBA playoff loser, which is all 8 teams that lost in the first round. And we're going to be giving one thing that they need to fix this offseason so that they'll be better in 2026, hopefully advance further than they did this year, and hopefully win the whole title. Because, you know, we've definitely seen that sort of pattern. The Nuggets won in 2023. They were eliminated in the first round the year prior. So it's definitely possible for teams to do that sort of stuff, right? So let's just kind of, you know, dive right in. We all have 2 of us have 3 teams. One of us has 2. We just randomly divided it through ChatGPT. And we'll just go through, take it in turns, and we'll debate it for however many minutes, and then we'll just move on to the next.
Yeah.
So, boys, do we have any sort of questions, comments, concerns before we sort of dive right in?
Let's dive.
Yeah.
All right, so obviously leave us in the comments if you have any other thoughts based on, you know, if you want to piggyback off what we say or anything of that nature. And let's just get right into it. Antoine, who is your first team, sir?
All right. I'm going to go with Detroit because they're first on my list.
All right.
So I'm going to burp. Give me a second. Okay.
Right.
Excuse
Mike,
you.
bro.
Excuse
Really,
you.
bro.
Listen, all right. So I think the biggest glaring need, just watching, of course, this series, is that, you know, Cade needs a second star. And, you know, we've thrown out Zion. KD doesn't look likely. Who else could be on the trade market? Booker.
Zion.
I said Zion.
Oh, he said not
Yeah,
Zion. Giannis.
Giannis, Booker. Any of those guys, I think they need more oomph. You know, their free agency class is they're 3 main guys they need to resign: Malik Beasley, THJ, and Schroeder. Those are all free agents that had massive impact for them playoff time. Beasley, of course, and THJ were more in the regular season. Schroeder more in the postseason. Those are great vets to keep around. They need to resign those guys. Those are just, you know, moves they could make besides complimenting him with a second star. So a big trade needs to, you know, happen for them. I don't think they can sign anybody that will benefit them right away. I would love to see them roll with Cade and Duren and Asar and Tobias. I think Jaden Ivey is the odd man out in a trade, most likely. I think Asar, Cade, Duren, and Tobias would be all untouchable unless they're getting big men in return. So I would definitely think Ivy and Picks and maybe some other young guys off the bench would be the casualties.
Okay. Can I offer an option?
Yeah.
Because there is a certain man over in Boston that is on an expiring contract next year and stands at a whopping 7'3" that can shoot the outside shot. I think maybe Kristaps Porzingis should be a name Detroit looks at. I think he fits right into that defense, or not defense, that offensive scheme that Bickerstaff runs. I think that's the one issue with Duren, the fact that he's a decent rim protector. He cannot anchor a defense, but you know he might suit more of that role than Duren, because I feel like Isaiah Stewart's just too much of an enforcer to get rid of. Like, notice how in the series against the Knicks, Cat was on fire from games 2 through 5. Didn't really have a good game 6, but game 1, Isaiah Stewart had him in hell. Duren couldn't do that. And, you know, it's just unfortunate the way that transpired, but Kristaps Porzingis seems like the best sort of tradable option as of right now, because we know Detroit has cap space. They don't like signing players, so they're going to wind up trading for guys. And I think that's probably what they should do. What are your thoughts, Gio?
I'm thinking, like, where would you put Porzingis in terms of, like, because I remember you saying when JB Bickerstaff was with the Cavs, he had that one guy on the dunker spot, and then he had one guy in the interior.
He played Duren's role. Duren would probably have to get traded in the process.
So Duren would be out of there.
Yeah.
Porzingis would take his spot. Then you would start Isaiah Stewart, you're saying?
So basically, when the Pistons were healthy in Game 1, Isaiah Stewart started, if I'm not mistaken.
Did he?
I
Okay.
think so. Basically, if you rolled out a lineup of Cade Cunningham, let's say Ivy's there or whatever shooting guard, you run Asar at your 3, Isaiah Stewart at the 4, and Porzingis at the 5.
Okay.
I think that's a really good lineup to be.
And then on offense, Porzingis is spacing the floor, of course. Stewart's on the interior.
You have Stewart on the interior. You have Stewart could also shoot a little bit.
Can.
So you both have him in the interior. You have Asar in the dunker spot. Cade's obviously on ball. Ivy can do the same, but he'll be up there as well. And then off the bench, you have shooters.
Right.
You know, you have Malik Beasley. If you bring back Tim Hardaway,
Right.
if you bring back Dennis Schroeder, if you can sign pretty much really anyone you want to for cheap in the offseason that's
Okay.
going to be able to shoot the 3 ball at a high clip.
Okay. Now to me, Porzingis seems like more of a role player at this point in his career. I don't know if he's a star player to take some of the load off of Cade Cunningham. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, let me put it this way. He's on an all-time great team right now. Doesn't have to do as much. But we saw remember Game 1 Porzingis in the finals?
Yeah.
Bro, if we see that as like, because I don't think he would be necessarily a top 2 option on that team, but he's like a primo 3rd option. Because if Cade and Ivy are the ones kind of doing their thing up top, because Ivy's a pure bucket getter. We saw the leap he made until he got hurt.
Right.
That he looked very promising. And I think you actually can make a trade with the Celtics without giving him up. It may have to cost you either Stewart or Duren, depending on what happens. But I think it's definitely possible that Porzingis could work as that 3rd offensive option and works as a somewhat of a decent rim protector. He's not as good as Isaiah Stewart on defense, but he'll be good enough that Isaiah Stewart will essentially play the Rudy Gobert role that you can hide Porzingis, if that makes any sense.
Okay. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Because I think that's really what they need.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally forgot. Tobias Harris is on the team.
Yep.
He would probably
He's there.
start at the 4. My
Yeah,
fault.
that's what I was saying. I didn't know Isaiah Stewart started.
Yeah, no, he came off the bench. That's
Yeah.
my fault. I totally forgot about Tobias Harris. I keep thinking he's on the Sixers. So Tobias Harris at the 4 would essentially also be spacing the floor, and
Right.
you have Porzingis can do both, whether it's interior or on the 3-point line.
Right. Okay.
So yeah,
Very spacey team.
that's what you need in today's NBA,
Yeah,
man.
you do.
Because we saw when they went on that 28-game losing streak last year, Cade had nothing. He was just getting clogged in the paint.
Yeah.
And that's why they couldn't get any offense generated. So
That'll be a nice addition.
I think so for sure. Was there anything else you had on Detroit as far as that?
No.
All right, let's just move on to the next team. Let's get into my first team. We might as well just kind of start at the bottom. We'll go to the Miami Heat.
Ugh.
A team that got absolutely desecrated, eviscerated, whatever other exploded, whatever other word you want to use. Cleveland waxed them.
Let's just say they have a lot to do.
They have a lot to do. So it's really hard to kind of pinpoint one thing.
Where
But
do they start?
obviously- Well, I mean, here's the thing. There's clear roster problems, right?
Yeah.
You don't have the star anymore because Jimmy Butler's gone. Tyler Hero is ascending, but he needs some help. Bam has kind of had a step back of a season, and you're still getting developmental guys like Khalil Ware and Pell Larson and all those guys, everything like that. To me, the Heat roster is going to do whatever Eric Spoelstra does. Like they go as far as Eric Spoelstra can physically take them, no matter how talented the roster is. The problem is the top of the food chain, and that is Pat Riley. And Pat Riley, after what happened with Jimmy Butler, this can't happen anymore. I think he might be washed. I think he is washed.
Pat?
I think the Heat need to move on from him and go to a new president of basketball operations to take over.
Yeah.
No.
Ooh, okay.
Yes.
Get some old-fashioned debate.
Sorry, no.
Let's go. All right, let's go. Tell me why.
It's really hard to say no at this point because we see what Jimmy did for the Warriors. He pretty much turned their whole season around. So it's hard not to join Jimmy Butler's side. But at the same time, though, you can't move on from Pat. I think he's just, I don't know. I can't call him washed because look at the team that he has. It's just no one on that team is good right now at this point. And I think you got to give him another 2 years to see what he can cook up. And if he fails at that point, then I say it's over. But I think you got to give him some grace, give him another 2 years, and then see where it's.
I think really the only option here then for Pat Riley is to trade for Kevin Durant.
Exactly.
Because I would have given him those 2 years if Jimmy Butler was still on the roster. But now that he's gone, Andrew Wiggins is nowhere near the player Jimmy Butler is. He's a good player, but he's not going to be a guy that takes you far.
Right.
And Andrew Wiggins is a third option. He's not a first option like Jimmy is. And yes, Tyler Hero can ascend to that first option level. I think he's well and truly capable of doing so. It's just that with Jimmy not there, there's a hole in this roster on both ends of the floor because Tyler Hero's a good rebounder. He's not a great defender for his size. We all know how good of a defender Bam Adebayo is. What is the rest of the roster going to look like, especially after a Kevin Durant trade? Like, who winds up going in those deals? And that's what we really don't know. Presumably, Andrew Wiggins would be collateral. I think he's a definite salary filler.
Yeah.
And then it's a matter of what young guys do you give up? Who do you bring back? And that's really, like, who's going to want to play for Miami after all the drama that's gone on in the past, year and a half, 2 years? Because this is a team that, yes, has gone to the finals, but this is a team that also just consistently underperforms in the regular season.
Yeah, well, hence why signing isn't the way trading. Also, don't rely like a point guard, John Morant, Trae Young. I think they could easily make that one of the best backcourts in all of basketball.
Yeah.
Tyler Hero.
Because I think I think the Bam Khalil Ware front court works. So I think that kind of takes Zion and Giannis off the table, even though you could trade for them. I think it's fine just keeping it the way it is. They need a good three, and that's where I think Kevin Durant really steps in and takes that role. Or it's tough to see because outside of Kevin Durant, who else is really a three on the trade block? Michael Porter Jr. He's a good player, but he's nowhere near the level of Kevin Durant, and that's not what Miami needs. So,
Giannis.
Well, Giannis is more of a four. It's really hard for him to play the three since he can't shoot the three ball consistently like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of the main issue. But, what other names could you think of for Miami? Or they could also trade for a guard.
Exactly. That's what I said, Ja or Trae. A three. Ooh.
It's
Don't
tough.
know. I
It
really
is
don't
tough.
know.
The three's really thinned out as far as
It
positions
is.
goes. If, let's say, the Celtics get bounced, Jaylen Brown could be out the door depending on what Boston wants to do.
Yeah.
That's another option, but you're going to get outbid by pretty much everyone that has draft capital. Brooklyn, OKC, San Antonio. It's just not possible. Miami's kind of screwed themselves over after the Dame thing happened. It's just tough, man. Now that you lost Jimmy Butler, I honestly don't know what you do from here.
Yeah, it's going to be a long just process for them a little bit because, now they got to find their identity again and, got to make these stronger. They're one of the teams that could be a starting point to getting that East back to where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think the Heat should have continued that 1 seed trend after 2022. And they obviously make the finals as an 8 seed, and then they just fall off a cliff even more. I just don't understand. That's where my thought process is with Pat Riley, Gio. It kind of goes along the lines of Sacramento. You did it.
Yeah.
You got to keep going. You can't just be passive and just sit back. The fact that Duncan Robinson's still on this roster is crazy to me.
Yeah, well,
true.
he has an ETO this offseason. An ETO is an early termination option.
Oh, wow.
So I would.
What the hell does that mean?
I don't know.
They can just cut his ass,
They can
I
cut
think.
his ass, yeah. I mean, their free agents are not that massive. Duncan, I said that. Burks can let go. Resign Davion Mitchell. He's an RFA.
Yeah.
Why not?
Resign him.
Well, obviously, that's a given. You
know.
need someone like him on the roster. He won you a playing game.
Yeah, and then Drew Smith's an RFA. We know he lost him in the beginning of the season to an injury.
Yeah.
Bring him back, but that's it. Duncan can go, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Because, for me personally, I just see Miami panic maneuvering. I see them going after a Chris Middleton in the offseason.
Oof.
And that's just not what they need. I could see them going after, I don't even know. They could go after a John Collins. They can go after Malcolm Brogdon. Just kind of looking at the list of free agents here, it's just not promising. D'Angelo Russell's another name.
Is there any free agents this offseason for the Pacers?
For the Pacers? Let me look.
I don't think.
Because the Pacers got a lot of pieces that potentially could be bigger time players, and if they get a bigger role. So if they have any free agents, that might be a team to look at.
The Pacers free agents, Miles Turner.
Okay.
That's
But
it.
if the Pacers go deep in the playoffs, he is 1,000%
For sure.
staying.
For sure.
Yeah.
So he's really the only player of substance that's getting consistent minutes. Because you got James Johnson, Thomas Bryant, you have Isaiah Jackson off of an Achilles tear.
Yeah.
He's not going to be highly coveted.
Right.
So that's where it's tough.
Yeah.
But I feel like Miami has a whole world of problems that I just quite frankly don't think they're going to answer. And I think they're going to be answered long term. With Pat Riley, I don't think they're going to answer any of them.
I think that's definitely.
Yeah, it was for me, Miami was the
Definitely.
hardest team to choose for this.
Oh yeah, that's a rough one.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I did my best.
What do you got,
Yeah.
G?
So I got the Orlando Magic,
Okay.
and I think we all know what they need to improve on.
Point
Okay.
guard.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely point guard, and obviously just an overall boost to their offense. So that obviously means a true point guard, someone who can really get the offense going.
Yeah.
That means shooting. That means more playmakers, right? Specifically 3-point shooting. That's what they need. So
Yeah.
I mean, defensively they got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their stars, Franz and Paolo, they got that. They just need shooters. They just need players that can knock down shots
Yeah. I mean, the
and a guard to facilitate that.
good thing with Orlando is that they're not losing anybody big in free agency at all. They're all just hogging up the bench. No one notable. They could definitely move off some pieces. They have a lot of young pieces to trade for a Trae Young or LaMelo Ball. They could sign some three-point specialists. It's not hard. There'll be some in the rough in the free agency market. And they'll be ready to go. They just got to get that ball handler and then just run it and see how it works next year.
You know what I would do if I'm Orlando?
What?
I'm going to be considering, if I can't get any of those younger true point guards, I'm definitely going to be considering Chris Paul if he wants to play another season.
Well, you know,
or
no.
even Russell Westbrook if
You-
he wants to play
you-
another
you
He's
season.
know-
1,000% opting out
You,
of that
you know what?
contract, so
You know
yeah.
what I just saw today. I don't know if it was the Legion Hoops or Hoop Central, but Anthony Simons.
That was
Okay.
that was what I was going to bring up for.
Okay.
He
is-
works for. You finish what you were going to say. Sorry.
He's high on the radar. He's an Orlando native,
Okay, perfect.
so he's from Orlando.
Nice.
I think Anthony's value's at an all-time high, and we know Portland could easily capitalize off their younger guys because
Right.
they have a crowded backcourt. Scoot's there, Shane Sharp's there.
Right.
Avdia is more of a small forward, but they could, if you want Scoot to be the guy, you can move off from Anthony, no problem.
Yeah.
Just trade him.
But the
That's a
thing,
good one.
Anthony provides more than just that because I keep forgetting the Magic actually do have a point guard in Jalen Suggs.
Right.
So if you could get Anthony Simons, the two of them are not necessarily true point guards, but one of them is going to take more of that on-ball role.
Which would be
Anthony Simons
Yeah.
because Jalen Suggs is going to guard the best guard player, right? Because let's say you're playing, I don't know, I don't want to say Boston because they're just a bad matchup for everyone. Let's say you're playing Cleveland, right? Or let's say you're playing the Knicks. Actually, let's say you're playing the Knicks because that's actually a realistic first round matchup for them. Anthony Simons could run the point. That way, Jalen Suggs doesn't have to do as much offensively, so we can
Right.
guard Jalen Brunson.
yeah, that's a hell of a backcourt right there.
Exactly.
Because he has to stay because the Magic were able to keep their team afloat until he went down. So that was the difference, and that's where a point guard's really helpful. I like the Chris Paul thing, though. I think he absolutely should be considered by the front
Yeah.
office. I think Jamal
Yeah.
Mosley would really find some good minutes for
Absolutely.
him in developing Paulo and Franz and all these
Yes.
guys. He's going to get these guys paid.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what he does
Veteran
best.
leadership. They need it
Yeah,
some way or somehow. You know.
I think Paul more than Russ. Paul played all 82
Yeah,
games this
Paul
year.
would be more ideal
I
because
agree.
he's more of that floor general type of player. I think Russ can also play that role too, based on what we saw in Washington Wizards as well. But
Right, but I think Chris Paul's a better mentor.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you need.
Correct.
Because essentially you're going to throw Anthony Simons into the DeJounte Murray
right,
situation where he's not
Yeah.
really a point guard,
right,
but he's well and truly capable of playing the point guard.
Yeah.
And he'll,
Exactly.
you know, trying to think of the right word to use, he'll sort of mold him into a good
point guard.
sort of player. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what he's doing with Castle because Castle's not really a point guard either.
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
he's doing it.
That's why Minnesota's lucky. They drafted a true point guard and they have Mike Conley there. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's not as much chess. It's pretty
They
straightforward.
know what they're doing.
Oh, they really do.
They do.
And as far as that goes, I mean, like, Orlando doesn't really have many other problems, I guess. I think really the other issue is Franz's outside shot.
Oh, he's gonna be working on that.
I hope
Yeah,
he does.
they'll-
It's the one
they'll
thing he's
improve.
missing because, like, him and Paulo can't perform well on the same night, and it just kind of frustrates me.
Yeah.
Because this team has so much potential.
Yeah.
So let's say they do trade for him. What lineup do you run out?
Trade for who?
Let's say they get Simons.
Simons. Okay.
What lineup are you running out?
Simons is the 1.
Yeah.
Suggs is the 2.
Yep.
The 3 will be Franz.
Mm-hmm.
4 is Paulo. 5 is Wendell Carter.
No. Mo Wagner.
No, Wendell Carter was the starting center.
I think Wendell Carter's
I would
a
throw
really
Mo
good player
Wagner
right
in there.
I
now. I think Mo Wagner is a great piece off the bench.
Yeah, I
Okay.
agree. I
All
agree.
right, that's fine. I'm fine with Wendell.
Wendell, I think he's proved himself this series in the last part of
first
the
game. All right.
second half of the NBA season. He's a good center. He's a decent center.
You know, he might have to be collateral in a trade. We never know.
He might.
'Cause that
Exactly.
trade's definitely involving Jet Howard.
Yeah.
Anthony Black, Cole Anthony.
No, Anthony Black you have to keep. Cole Anthony's definitely gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, it depends. The Magic have a pretty competent front office, so I don't expect them to do anything stupid like that.
Right. And they got some depth. You know, if they lose Wendell, they still have Jonathan Isaac. They got Mo Wagner. They got some
Yeah,
guys.
they got Goga.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
up Battalion.
Let me look real quick at their free agents before we move on to
I have it.
Okay, so who they got?
Gary Harris has a team option.
Get him
Corey
out of there.
Joseph.
Yeah,
Corey, get him out of there.
Caleb Houston has a team option, and so does Mo Wagner.
a lot of ass here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
so,
not. I have all the free agents for all the teams we're covering. So,
okay, perfect.
yeah,
So
I have them all.
yeah, not bad at all.
That's why I love you, bro.
Yeah, I wrote it down.
You the goat.
You want me to go on to my?
Damn, we didn't even tell you we loved you back.
I
bro.
love you back, Gio.
He said, yeah. He said, yeah, I know.
There you go.
That's wild. You just gotta send him
Okay.
8-ball now.
All right.
All right, what's your
Let's-
next team, Antoine?
So I have both LA teams.
All right, pick
So
one.
I'm gonna knock off the purple one. Let's go to the Lakers.
All right.
Similar to Gio, we know what the problem is.
They're small.
There you go, Gio. A plus,
Thank you.
A minus for saying thank
No.
you. So yeah,
A+.
I'm under their free agents. All of their big men will be off the books. Alex Len's a free agent. Jackson Hayes is a free agent. Clean slate. Of course, LeBron has his player option like he does every year because he wants to get more money for a single year. He'll probably opt in. DFS has a player option. He'll probably opt into that. We'll see. But yeah, listen, we know Mark Williams trade. We saw it happen. We're like, oh God, okay. Big guy coming in, completely falls through. Now you're going to have to go back to the drawing board, see what you can bring in on the trade market or free agency. I don't know who the free agent big men are this upcoming offseason. I could take a quick look.
Here, I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, who are the free
while you go
agent?
through
Miles Turner, we know that.
Miles Turner's an option, obviously. You obviously can trade for a guy like Nick Claxton. Potentially, he's always been
Okay.
kind of hot off the presses of
I
the
will gladly
center market.
I will gladly give the Lakers Mitchell Robinson.
Brooke Lopez, Clint Capella,
Yes, Lopez
Nas
is a free
Reed, Steven Adams. That's really kind of
Steven
it.
Adams, yeah.
I expect Al Horford to stay in Boston.
Yeah.
And that's honestly kind of it. I mean, Kevon Looney, but he's also kind of small for a center.
Yeah.
So you're not really looking at many options. I think what they will do is probably, Dalton Connect hasn't seen the floor in God knows how long. So he's
Since the
definitely-
trade.
Yeah, so he's probably going to wind up getting traded along with really anyone can be traded. Like
Rui.
even Austin Reeves could wind up going in a trade based off the way he performed in the first round series.
True.
And same thing with Rui.
Yeah. Vanderbilt as well.
Yeah.
Gabe Vincent.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know, they have players there to get rid
I might
of.
just throw Gabe in there as a gift.
Yeah.
I feel like
Oh, yeah.
that's the main problem with the Lakers. It's not necessarily that Luka essentially is trying to accelerate a timeline that wasn't going anywhere, and they don't
Yeah.
have the pieces for it.
Right. Don't.
I don't think this team can function with LeBron on the roster.
Ooh. I think that's a topic for another day.
Well,
That's an interesting
I
take.
don't know.
I like
Well,
it. I think I like that take.
Luka is the future after LeBron, so
Yeah.
we have to see what happens.
Okay.
That's kind of it. I
We're
want to
talk
see
about that one soon.
I want to see a reworked roster next year with all the guys on this roster besides LeBron, Luka, Reeves, maybe DFS. But I want to see like that core that like Vanderbilt. No, like
Yeah.
let's move on. Like
Yeah.
it's over. Like bring in new guys. Yeah.
Stay tuned
that's
for what
kinda how it
Tyler
works.
said though, because I think that's going to be a good off-season,
Oh, it's definitely a hot topic.
segment.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Based on the way Bro played, like,
Yeah.
and just like the way, like, it's just hard because LeBron's eating up so much salary cap. It's like nuts. And the fact that Bronny takes up $8 million of it, crazy work. But
Insane.
what are your thoughts, Gio? You used to be a Laker fan.
Used to be.
Yeah, you were.
Nah, even when Russ was on there, the Lakers didn't appreciate him, so I never was a Laker fan.
Ah, fair.
But what do I think about the Lakers? I mean, I think I agree with what you said. I don't know if they're going to be a winning team in terms of like winning any sort of championship while LeBron's still there. I think LeBron has to go.
Okay.
Fair.
So
right.
I'll keep it short.
Okay.
Keeping it short
Yeah.
and sweet.
Tyler, what do you got?
We're moving
Next
on from the
team.
Lakers already. That was it.
Yeah, that's
That's actually crazy.
I have nothing else.
You
I
don't
think
know?
it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, fair. I mean, did you have like a general idea of what like sort of lineup you would ideally want the Lakers to run out next season?
I would think Luka, LeBron. I would keep Austin Reeves. The big men. I don't know. It's whoever they bring in. I don't know who they're targeting. That's the
Steven
thing.
Adams.
They want Steven Adams. They want Miles Turner. They want Nick
Yeah.
Claxton. They just
don't
want
know.
anyone that can catch lobs because that's Luka's
And
game.
get rebounds.
Yeah,
Yeah. I don't know.
I think
It's
that'd be
not-
awesome.
yeah.
I want to see Steven Adams on the Lakers.
I would be fine with that.
You need to see Steven Adams on the Nuggets
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
behind
Yeah.
Jokic as the backup
dude,
five.
that would be kind of crazy. Yeah, I would like that.
Then the non-Jokic minutes wouldn't be ass because guess what? They're still ass.
I mean, DeAndre Jordan's holding his own.
Oh no.
no, but like
another guy
that's
who needs to
that's
go.
gonna get you at around one. But like against the Thunder, like Jalen Williams, like big Jalen Williams, he's gonna
Yeah.
destroy him in his minutes. And even if they somehow get through, Naz Reid or Kevon Looney or Draymond is going to obliterate him in those
stop
minutes.
it.
They will.
Not Draymond.
Yes.
Okay, maybe.
Draymond will. DeAndre Jordan is he's washed more than the damn waves, bro.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. But I'll get into my next team. Let's get into the other team that got shellacked in round one, the Memphis Grizzlies.
Boring.
Yeah,
It's kind of a boring team.
This
right
team,
now.
I got them 2 weeks ago, and I got them again. I probably shouldn't have done that, but it's fine. This team's got a whole world of problems. Obviously, as we mentioned earlier, they escalated the coach whose name I cannot pronounce to full-time head coach rather than doing the coaching search, which perplexed me a lot because
Yeah.
I don't think he's on the level of Doug Christie, and I think the Grizzlies are a much better front office than the Kings. So the move kind of perplexed me a bit, considering they weren't great at the end of the season. They were literally the 2 seed, like a
Yeah.
little over a month ago.
Yeah.
And here they were just squeaking out of the play-in and getting blown out by 50 and 60 in the playoffs.
It's crazy.
That's how crazy the West is. That's how quick things change. And
Wait, why did they fire their coach again?
Taylor
I'm sorry.
Jenkins.
What?
It was some. I mean, obviously they were on a losing streak, I think, and I'm pretty
Such
sure
nonsense.
they weren't running. Like Ja wasn't happy with the offense. They weren't running enough pick and pops and pick and rolls and stuff like that, because that's like what Ja needs to kind of get him going. The offense made him stagnant.
Bro, I'm sorry, but if you're the 2 seed, I don't care what Josh's saying. You guys are the 2. You guys are winning basketball
I think they
games.
fired him after they fell off some games. I think
They
they were.
lost.
I think they were like the 5 or 6 seed at that point. They started slipping, then they fired him, and they slipped even more into the play-in and stuff like that.
All right.
So looking at the roster, obviously Zach Edey is a work in progress. It's going to take him some time for his body and his movement to kind of get up to speed. Him and Jaren Jackson has promise as a front court duo, so I think that's fine. Obviously, you need to sort out what's going to happen with Ja Morant. I know Zach Kleiman doesn't want to trade him. Then again, GMs talk a lot of they say a lot of things. They talk
Right.
a lot of shit. I can't really,
Right.
I'm going to take what he said with a grain of salt.
Yeah, it's business. It's basketball.
Exactly. Like Ja could wind up being traded next month for all we know. Like we have no idea. And then you got Desmond Bane, who I still think has promise, but you could also wind up trading him as well. I think this team mainly just needs to find an identity right now. This team has kind of lost themselves because we obviously know that they're trying to replicate the grit and grind Grizzlies from back in the day. And there were some aspects of that when we saw, when like Dylan Brooks was on the roster. They really tried to be that enforcer team that tried to be pests and tried to get inside your head. The problem is you played an inexperienced Wolves team your first time in the playoffs, and then your next 2 series you went up against the Warriors and the Lakers, and you lost both of them in embarrassing fashion because they weren't mature enough to handle a playoff atmosphere, playoff physicality, and all that, and all those things. And that on top of the Ja off the court issues, the Ja suspension, then everyone gets injured. It's a mess in Tennessee right now. So to me, I feel like it's kind of like Miami. There's not really one singular thing. It starts at the top, and to me, that kind of just begins with, what does this team want to be? What do they want to do? because there's no one singular move that's going to fix this roster. It just doesn't exist.
Well, I think it starts with Ja. You obviously have to keep Ja because you mentioned their identity, and I'll tell you where it comes from. It's Ja. This team's identity is Ja.
Yeah.
If he's not playing, this team doesn't have no idea what they're doing.
I agree.
And we saw that in the first round.
Yeah.
Right? If he's playing, it's a completely different team. So obviously you have to keep Ja. Is that a good thing that their identity is Ja? I don't think so. I think if you're a good, it's a bad thing. I think if you're a good team, a good organization, you're going to have your own culture, your own identity, and then you're going to have players adjust to that and fit in that. Unfortunately, that's not the case in Memphis. So,
and that's an uncharacteristic problem because remember, like 2 years ago, they were like 20-0 without Ja Morant that one season, and now they just can't seem to figure it out. So I do think like Taylor Jenkins would have been a suitable fire now,
right?
But like the timing they did it, I understand.
Yeah.
But like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
With this coach, I'm not saying he's going to do a bad job, but I think this kind of rules them out of contending for a while.
Agreed.
I think this team is at least 4 or 5 years away.
Okay.
So, I mean, Antoine, I'll ask you this. Should the Grizzlies consider blowing it up?
I don't think blowing it up. I would be okay with a slight rework. I would like to see them move off of like Desmond Bane. Just because I don't know how he really fits. He's more of like a prolific scorer type of guy. Big body. I would still keep Zach Edey around, of course. Triple J, Ja, Jalen Walls, of course. If you can get a more like defensive two, like Dyson Daniels, but obviously not him, but someone that's like that because Edey doesn't move that quick, so it's concerning. That's the only thing I would do. Like moving Bane. I mean, the free agency class is only Santi Aldama. He's an RFA.
They're going to re-sign him.
Yeah,
that's like a definite because you have to keep him based on the way he's been playing.
Mm-hmm.
But like outside of that, I don't really know what this roster wants to commit to. We don't know if Ja wants to even stay.
Exactly, Ja could be the big move, and that's the whole reset right there.
Right.
But we have to see. I don't know. It's interesting though.
I think that really determines where you trade him to, because like I said, you could wind up getting fleeced by let's say Portland wants to start competing, and they give you a bunch of young but not higher upside players to kind of replace that with, or like I said, there could be a certain Armageddon scenario where you wind up getting someone like Jaylen Brown. Or someone like, I don't know, whoever's like a player not of that caliber because Brown's a Finals MVP, but like I'm just trying to think of an example that's not too crazy. Mm-hmm. But like you can get someone that would could replicate what Ja does in a trade, and that could be anything. It could even be like, let's say the Hawks want Ja Morant and their Trae Young requests out.
Yeah,
that could be another option. There's definitely directions they can go in. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of what do the Grizzlies want? What does Ja want? What does Zach Kleiman want? I think that's really the most important thing. It's clear the direction he went in with the coach. What are you going to do about the roster? And what you do with this roster, what is that going to do with Ja's mentality? What's that going to say about the direction of this team going forward? And to me, that's the biggest concern.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a good take.
Thank you.
What do you got, G?
All right, so next team is the Houston Rockets.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, they are losers. I really picked them to win. I wanted them to win. They should have won.
I did
They're
too.
home. They're home for Game 7.
They shouldn't have lost Game 2. Or was it Game 3? It was either Game 1 or Game 2 they shouldn't have lost.
It was one of those. But anyways, so I wrote down here, this one's tricky because we kind of have an idea of what they should do, what they kind of need to do if they want to contend for real.
Yeah.
And that is trade for an all-star, right? We knew that.
Yeah.
But then it's tricky because it's like, who are you going to trade? And are you going to give up some of your core young players for Kevin Durant? Like, part of me wants to keep this Houston Rockets team together and let them develop and grow together as a team and see what they can become when they're in their primes. And then part of me wants instant gratification and wants them to trade for Kevin Durant right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like the All-Star trade is easy because, you can pick up Fred VanVleet's team option. which I think they should decline. But if you want to add more to a Kevin Durant trade, Jalen Green goes, Fred VanVleet goes, and you would probably
It's that easy.
yeah. I think you start there.
Okay.
Amen's off limits. Jabari Smith, same thing. Same thing with Şengün, Reed Shepherd. Probably throwing like a Cam Whitmore.
No.
What'd you say? Şengün's off limits?
No, Şengün and Amen Thompson should be the only untouchables on this roster.
Okay, I'm fine with moving Jabari Smith.
You have to move. Jalen Green is a must. And
Get him out, you're saying?
yeah, as far as trade, Jalen Green is a must. Cam Whitmore is a must.
Jabari Smith.
And then decide between Jabari Smith, Reed Shepherd, like whoever. Because it really depends on what team you're trading with and what they need. Because like if you're trading with a team that needs a forward, you're not going to trade them Cam Whitmore. You're going to trade them Jabari Smith.
Jabari Smith, exactly.
But if you're trading with a team that needs a shooting guard, then yeah, here's Jalen Green, like right for you.
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Now, that's what they're probably going to do. But is that the right decision? I don't know.
For who?
For Houston.
To
To trade their young assets away for, a player like Kevin Durant.
Well, yeah.
Win now,
because Katie,
sort of.
Katie does not have a lot of time left, and you get rid of a Jabari Smith, Jalen Green, young guys that are just on the up and rise.
I think they should trade for Devin Booker.
Devin Booker, I like that better.
I think they should.
Okay.
However, Devin Booker is not notoriously known for getting it done when they need him to.
Neither is Kevin Durant.
Well, I mean, he has. That's the thing. Obviously, not on his own. And that's where it really depends on what you're going to get from Şengün long term. Because the one thing the Rockets are missing is a closer. And that's something Kevin Durant is very good at.
Right.
That's not necessarily something that Devin Booker is good at. He can. He just doesn't do it as consistently as Kevin.
Right.
And that's really the main issue, is because they really just need a two guard. So then what do you do from there? Do you give Reed Shepherd the minutes? Do you give whoever's left the minutes? Like I said, they also could just say, screw that, and let's say they move up to the top 4 in the lottery and VJ Edgecombe's available. I don't see why not. You take him, give him an opportunity, because he's NBA ready.
Yeah, man. There's a lot the Rockets can do. They have a lot of options, and I'm just curious to see what the GM actually does.
I think it's going to wind up being KD.
KD.
Purely for the relationship with Ime Udoka.
Okay.
Because he was the assistant in Brooklyn. I believe he also was the assistant coach on Team USA in the 2021 Olympics. I think it was one of those 2 years. That was when he got hired by Boston. So,
yeah, we'll see, man.
Do you have a preference on what Houston does?
You know what? My gut is telling me, and my gut has been wrong recently a lot, but my gut is telling me be patient if you're the GM. Be patient. Let these young players play it out. And don't worry about getting an older player like Kevin Durant right now. Let these young players do their thing. Let them grow together. It seems like they have like a sense of camaraderie with each other. So my gut's saying let them play together and
Yeah, I
grow.
don't see anything wrong with that either. But I think you should definitely add more to the bench. Steve Adams is a free agent. You should resign him back.
Oh, for sure.
You can afford him.
They could just bring in some other pieces, look for the development of the younger guys.
Yeah, because I think the pressure is for GMs. If they don't make a move, they're fired. They're out of there.
Yeah.
Right. But then there's also good GMs also have patience. You need to have patience with the players that you have, and you need to have trust with the players that you have, and also the coaches and the training staff that you have to prepare those players and take them to the next level. So.
Okay.
There's a balance, and I hope the Rockets GM has that.
And that's the thing. You need to find the balance, because you don't want to do a Sacramento where you don't want to do nothing. You have to make some sort of move. And I think right now, I don't think Jalen Green's value is going to get any higher than it is right now.
Yeah.
I think he needs to go this offseason.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think if he's on the roster starting next season, unless you don't fleece the fuck out of a team, then it's a failure.
Okay.
All right.
Fair
because
point.
we saw it. We have a 7-game sample size. He had one good game.
You're right. You're right about that.
And if you're going to be a top, we didn't include him in our X factors because he's a top 2 option on the team.
Yeah.
He didn't show up.
No.
You got outplayed by pretty much the entire roster. And that just is unacceptable. And you know what? That's just the unfortunate reality of the NBA. The playoffs exposes everything, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
Good point.
So,
Anthony.
All right, so we'll go to my final team. I will say right now, we have a barn burner with the Knicks and Celtics right now. The Knicks have cut it to 3.
Let's go.
89-86.
They were just up by 20. The Celtics.
Yep. It's
Wow.
89-86.
Knicks.
With 6:24 to go in the fourth.
Are the
Someone-
refs really pulling through right now? Let's go. Refs.
So
They are. They have more free
They
throws.
are on like a 31 to
28-9.
31 to 11 run as of right now.
Beautiful.
Okay, so let's close it out. My last team is the other team, the Clippers. This is interesting. I was kind of fighting in my head moving on from Ty Lue, but I don't think they should. He kind of made that whole team work this year.
Yeah.
So I went with the more realistic one, is just to rework this roster. Specifically the bench. The bench is very old. Specifically Patty Mills, Nick Batum, Ben Simmons, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Drew Eubanks. The only young guy you have on that bench is probably Amir Coffey, and he's a free agent after the year. So do you bring him back or do you let him go? Batum is a player option. Ben Simmons is a free agent. You could let him go. Patty Mills, same thing. Free agent, let him go. Harden's a player option. I think you run back the same starting 5 with a full season of healthy Kawhi.
Really? Okay.
I would probably move off of Derrick Jones Jr. I don't think he fits there like he did in Dallas a little bit.
I mean, he definitely made more of an impact in the starting lineup in the Nuggets series than like Chris Dunn did.
Okay.
So I think you probably want to keep him around, but if there's an upgrade available, then by all means.
But the bench, I think, needs more than just the older guys. Like, I mean, Nick Batum could be nice to bring
He's a good
back.
player.
Ben Simmons, he didn't play at all. I would let him go. Patty,
I would bring Ben back.
No. His career's over.
yeah. I would fill the bench with some shooters, obviously, that are not Bogdan Bogdanovic. And just rework the starting 5, the same starting 5 as this year, and just run it from there. That's literally, I think you keep Harden. He's the player option. He may opt out of that player option and test free agency.
I would honestly hope he did that. If I was Lawrence Frank, I wouldn't. I just don't think you can win with James Harden at this
So
point.
then you would bring in another star.
You need a star player that is under the age of 26 years of age.
Yeah.
That's the only chance you have at competing with anything with Kawhi. Clippers have to be active in the trade market this summer.
Yeah.
People will be available.
Yeah, exactly.
You just got to go out and do it. Or Harden opts in and you trade him. That's another option.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the best case scenario for LA, because like this season's a wash for them. Essentially, you do all this work just to get bounced in the first round again. And this time you had a healthy Kawhi Leonard. That's the problem. These guys don't like these young guys. They don't care. Like Anthony Edwards doesn't care. Like Jokic doesn't care. Wemby won't care. Like they're gonna run through the Clippers.
I mean, as much as Harden had a great year, it's Kawhi. I would definitely stay around. Harden, I could easily see you can move off of Harden. Kawhi, I would obviously keep around.
It wouldn't surprise me if they let Ty Lue go based on the way the season ended. But I'm honestly not too sure.
I don't think Tyler should be let go.
I don't think he should
I was
either.
fighting, but I was like, no. I think he's
He's one of the best coaches in the league.
safe.
Yeah, he is.
He's like a top 7 coach at the very least.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think, Gio?
About Ty Lue?
About the Clippers, Ty Lue, about anything regarding them?
I agree with you. I think James Harden, you can't win with him. So you got to trade him. You got to get a young player that has talent. Maybe Jalen Green. We'll see. I don't know.
Not.
Maybe not. I mean, maybe Jalen Green's not that guy. Maybe he is. Maybe he needs a change of scenery. I'm rooting for him. But Ty Lue, I say we keep Ty Lue.
Can I interrupt?
Go.
I repeat, the Knicks have the lead. The Knicks have the lead.
What quarter is it?
94-91 with 3:50. Jalen Brunson just gave them the lead.
Oh, wow.
The 3.
This is insane. What did I say, though?
Like I said,
Celtics were down by 20, and I stood on business. I
They were up
said
20.
Knicks.
They were up 20.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Celtics were up by 20. I stood on business, said Knicks are going to win game 1.
and then they'll lose the next 4.
Imagine.
Yeah, remember, they haven't had Porzingis this whole second half.
Yeah.
Still.
So,
You still got Al Horford and a bunch of guys.
well, they're all in foul trouble because they keep calling shit.
Is that true?
I'm checking, actually, the fouls right now.
They've been hacking at Mitch. Mitch has 10 free throws. He only's made 3.
He's only made 3.
Mitch doesn't shoot free
So
throws.
they're
Knicks-
doing like hack-a-shack stuff.
The Knicks have missed like 10 free throws tonight.
Knicks have missed 10,
Mitch has
and they're
missed,
still.
Mitch has
Oh.
missed 7. Campaign missed 2. Brunson missed 1. Hart missed 3.
Wow.
OG missed 1. Yeah, they're 16 of 30.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's 14 free throws.
But yeah, back to the task at hand here.
Go ahead.
You were saying, Gio?
No, and then I was saying keep Ty Lue. I think, like you guys
yeah.
said, he is one of the best coaches in the league. It's just, unfortunately, his players didn't show up in Game 7.
Right.
So nothing he can do about that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I kind of feel you on that.
All right.
So let's get into the final team.
I know who his team is.
Team number 8, and it is the Milwaukee Bucks. Another team. I just got basically the 3 teams that got killed in the first round. So
This is a big one.
this is a big one.
Milwaukee has the most notable free agents out of every team. Brooke is a free agent. Bobby Portis is a player option. So does Pat Connaughton. So does KPJ. Torian Prince is a free agent. Gary Trent's a free agent. Jericho Sims is a free agent.
Wow.
And Ryan Rollins is an RFA.
Everybody, bro.
So we could be looking at a totally different
You need to overhaul this roster.
Bucks team.
AJ Green might be the best player on this team at the beginning of next
AJ
season.
That's crazy.
Oh, don't forget. Well, they still have Kuz. Kuz is
No,
there.
No.
AJ's better.
Send that man to China.
Kuz and Giannis.
But here's the thing with Milwaukee. Regardless of what happens with Giannis, it's quite clear to me that the Brook Lopez era has finally come to an end. He was played off the floor numerous times in this series by Indiana. He was averaging less than 15 minutes a game in the series. Unacceptable. Wasn't shooting well. Was a cone defensively. He's too slow. He's too old. It's time to make a move. It's time to be aggressive if you're the Milwaukee Bucks. Okay? It's time to be aggressive. If you want to get Giannis some true help, I would try everything in your power to pry Zubats away from the Clippers. I think that's what they absolutely need to do. They need a defensive center that can help
like it.
Giannis out because this team can't guard anyone. When Giannis isn't guarding, that's pretty much a free 2 to 3 points, depending on how you look at it. Obviously, I don't know how willing the Clippers are at trading their players because, they just had a failure of a season and then, it might not work out again. Like, it could happen at the deadline. Guys could be available the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
But the thing with Milwaukee, obviously Dame's out next season, so it's going to be tough enough.
Oh, yes.
You'll have guards that can help you out, but you need a big man. The double bigs are coming back. They've returned in the NBA. We saw it with Cat and Rudy. We're seeing it now with Cat and Randall. We see it with Mobley and Allen. We're seeing it with Siakam and Turner. You just need 2 big towers. Chet and Hartenstein, obviously. So that's something the Bucks need, and it worked once with Giannis and Lopez, but Lopez should not have signed that extension because it really trapped Milwaukee in a bit of a sticky situation.
Well, he was doing his thing.
It was a
Bucks shouldn't have done
validly earned, but
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts, Gio?
I mean, I agree with you, but to an extent, I think more importantly, they should go for someone that could match Chris Middleton's play style. Maybe like an Andrew Wiggins, I think that could really help them
I
out.
wouldn't hate that at all.
Yeah.
Or maybe even like a DeRozan or Levine.
Yeah, someone
could.
like that.
It's
could
just tough
definitely help.
because they just don't win.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
I think Andrew Wiggins could help more than the other 2 guys you mentioned
Yeah.
because he's been on a team that won.
Right.
So I think he can help with that and experience and all that stuff. Can he be the closer? I don't know.
That's where it's tough.
I don't know if he can be that Chris Middleton closer type. But I'm not against the Ivica Zubac pick as well. I think that would be a good addition.
Right, because out of all the big centers on the market, you're not going to get Miles Turner, obviously.
No.
Nick Claxton's not a good shooter, so it really doesn't fit Milwaukee's offense. I just feel like even though Zubats can't shoot, he's a better defender than pretty much everyone on the board. Yeah. And I think you take the shooting sacrifice to kind of leave that open and available.
They could move for Sabonis.
I don't think that would work. But it
yeah,
could happen.
That'd be weird.
Oh, we're forgetting Doc should be gone.
Who?
Doc.
Honestly, it doesn't really matter the coach.
Doc should be gone.
The way this series went and the way the injuries happened, it's not even Doc's fault. It was just injuries and two unforced errors by Gary Trent.
True.
That was really what did it. There was not much Doc could have done. Milwaukee just had problems all season.
True.
They won the NBA Cup, so you know.
But it's time for a new look. With
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a lot of
It's-
things they need to do.
Brooks been there a long time. You know, Portis, same thing with him. You know,
I think they keep Kevin Porter. He's
they
been
could-
playing
they
good.
could.
He's been
They
playing
could
good.
keep
They
Trent as
probably
well.
could.
Pat Connaughton, he's gone. He's been there a long time.
He's been there a long time.
All
and
those
hasn't
guys that
been
have
any
been there
minutes.
for like since before COVID, like
Get 'em
time
outta
to
here.
move on.
Yeah.
That's it.
So yeah, do we have any final thoughts regarding the Boston Celtics or Boston Celtics? The
Milwaukee
Milwaukee Bucks, they both wear green and they're both in the East.
Yeah. No.
That
was
takes
good.
care of the one thing every loser needs to fix. Let us know down in the comments what recommendations you got. Let us know your thoughts and everything like that. And with that, that brings us to the end of episode number 56 of the Floor Spacer podcast. Gio, people that are still with the flow, what do they comment at home?
Nixon won. Not playing.
God.
That's crazy.
Don't ruin it for us now.
My fault, bro. Apparently the Knicks are up. What are they?
No, they just gave up 7 straight points. The Celtics are up by 1.
Oh damn.
Let's go.
Well, they were up by 7 at
They're
one
up
point.
by 6.
6 at one
They're
point.
up by
Okay.
6.
Fair, yeah.
Well, yeah. So comment down. Let's say. I don't know.
It's a random word. First word that comes to mind. Don't think. Just say it.
3-pointer. I don't know. Comment down 3-pointer because we're gonna need a lot of those.
What is
from
that
Russell
noise that I'm hearing?
Westbrook. He's
Only
playing
thing
with
is
his bottle.
Oh. If that's been going through the audio for the past hour, I'm sorry. But
I mean,
But-
I've been picking it up and down for like, I've been spinning.
Past hour.
yeah, past the hour.
Around.
So we apologize if you hear any of that. But you said 3-pointer?
Yeah.
All right, so comment down 3-pointer if you're still with the flow of the video. Obviously, we'll keep tabs on the second round. We'll have other stuff planned, and in a couple weeks, we'll do our conference finals predictions. And then when June rolls around, we'll have the NBA finals, all that stuff, everything
Yeah.
of that nature.
Exactly.
So, lads, do we have any sort of final thoughts? If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, get us to 6K. If you're on Spotify audio platforms, give us 5 stars, answer the polls, leave a review, all that good stuff. Follow us on our socials at Floor Spacer Pod on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Our personal ones are down here. Get you to 1 million Instagram followers. Join the Discord server. Pin comment below and also in the description. And boys, is that it?
That's all, bro.
Let's go to sleep.
Let's go to sleep.
Oh, let's watch some
Let's go
NBA.
watch the
Let's
game.
go watch some NBA, then go to sleep. We hope you all enjoyed. Thank you all for watching. We love you all endlessly. Fuck Nico Harrison, and we'll see you all next week in episode 57. Peace out.